A graduation cap soars through the air in slow motion, joining hundreds of others against the bright blue sky. Cheers erupt throughout the packed auditorium of Riverside University as families embrace and cameras flash. Parents rush forward to congratulate their children, flowers and gifts exchanging hands amidst laughter and tears of joy. In a quiet corner near a large window, Alexandra Sinclair sits alone in her wheelchair. Her graduation cap sits slightly askew on her long blonde hair, and her green eyes stare vacantly at the diploma in her trembling hands. Summa Cum Laude, Business Administration, is emblazoned in gold lettering across the cover. While celebration erupts around her, Alexandra remains isolated in her own pocket of silence. 8-year-old Tommy Hughes tugs on his father's worn denim sleeve, his untamed brown hair sticking up in every direction. "Dad, why is that lady crying by herself?" Marcus Hughes, 30, follows his son's gaze. The young woman in the wheelchair looks so utterly alone it makes his chest ache. Her graduation program is crumpled in her lap, as if she's been gripping it too tightly for hours. "Maybe her family is just running late, buddy," Marcus whispers, though something in his gut tells him it's more complicated than that. Tommy pulls harder on his father's hand, his 8-year-old heart unable to ignore suffering when he sees it. "Can we go say hi? She looks really sad." Marcus hesitates. They're here to celebrate his friend Roberto's graduation, and he's learned to be cautious about approaching strangers. But there's something familiar in the woman's isolation, a reflection of his own lonely moments when he wished someone would notice his pain. "Okay, but just to say congratulations. If she wants privacy, we respect that." As they approach, Marcus notices the name tag on her graduation gown. Alexandra Sinclair, Summa Cum Laude, Business Administration. Her green eyes are rimmed with unshed tears. Tommy breaks the silence first. "Hi, I'm Tommy, and this is my dad, Marcus. We saw you sitting alone and wanted to say congratulations." Alexandra looks up, startled. For a moment, she seems uncertain how to respond, as if kindness from strangers is unfamiliar territory. "Thank you," she says quietly, her voice barely audible above the lobby chatter. Marcus kneels down beside Tommy. "I hope we're not intruding. My son has a gift for noticing when people might need a friend." Something shifts in Alexandra's expression, surprise mixed with cautious hope. "No, it's fine. Thank you for stopping by." Tommy, oblivious to the emotional undertones, continues chattering. "My dad says graduation is super important. Are you smart? You must be really smart to graduate from this big school." "Tommy," Marcus warns gently. But Alexandra surprises them both by letting out a small laugh, the first hint of warmth they've seen from her. "I suppose I must be somewhat smart. I finished my degree while dealing with some challenges." Her hand unconsciously moves to the armrest of her wheelchair. "We're here to see my friend Roberto graduate," Marcus offers, trying to keep the conversation light. Tommy was more excited than Roberto himself. "It's my first time at a graduation," Tommy announces proudly. "My dad says when I grow up, I can come to school here too. Do you think they'll remember me?" Alexandra's expression softens as she looks at Tommy's eager face. "I think anyone who meets you would remember you." Marcus catches a glimpse of genuine warmth beneath her guarded exterior. They stand in comfortable silence for a moment, watching the celebration around them. Marcus can't help but notice that no one has approached Alexandra during their conversation. No family members looking for her, no friends stopping by for photos. "Are you waiting for someone?" Tommy asks with characteristic directness. Alexandra's composure falters slightly. "No, my father is at a conference overseas. He couldn't make it." The words hang in the air, and Marcus feels a familiar ache in his chest, the loneliness of celebrating life's moments without the people who matter most. As a single father, he knows that feeling intimately. "Well then," Marcus says, making a decision that surprises even himself. "Would you like us to take a photo of you? Every graduate should have a picture to remember this day." Alexandra blinks, clearly taken aback by the offer. "Oh, you don't have to." "Dad's really good at taking pictures," Tommy interjects. "He takes lots of me because Mom can't." The innocent statement hangs in the air. Marcus sees understanding flicker in Alexandra's eyes. I would actually really like that," she says softly. Marcus pulls out his smartphone and takes several photos, finding the best angle and lighting. Alexandra straightens in her wheelchair, adjusting her cap and managing a genuine smile for the first time since they approached her. These turned out great, Marcus says, showing her the results. Would you like me to send them to you? As Alexandra gives him her phone number, Tommy notices her graduation program with its list of academic achievements. What's all this writing mean? It means she was one of the very best students in her whole school, Marcus explains, reading over the accolades. Alexandra, this is incredible. Summa cum laude. You should be really proud. For a moment, Alexandra's carefully maintained composure cracks completely. I am, she whispers, and Marcus can hear years of struggle and determination in those two words. Tommy, sensing the emotional moment, does what comes naturally to him. He hugs her. Without asking permission or considering boundaries, he wraps his small arms around her shoulders. You're really cool, he announces matter-of-factly. And really brave, too. Alexandra closes her eyes and returns the hug. Tears spill down her cheeks. Not tears of sadness this time, but something more complex. Gratitude, surprise, and perhaps relief at being truly seen by another person. When Tommy steps back, Alexandra wipes her eyes and smiles more broadly than she has all day. Thank you, Tommy. You're pretty cool yourself. As other families begin filtering out of the building, Marcus realizes they should probably head home. The drive back to their small apartment is long, and Tommy needs dinner soon. But something about leaving Alexandra alone again feels fundamentally wrong. Listen, he says carefully, I know we just met, and please don't feel obligated, but would you like to get some ice cream? There's a place not far from here. Alexandra hesitates, and Marcus can see her internal debate. He recognizes the look of someone who has grown accustomed to isolation, who finds it safer to stay guarded than risk disappointment. Please, Tommy adds, his eyes bright with hope. Dad never gets ice cream because he says it's too expensive, but today's special. Marcus feels his cheeks burn with embarrassment at his son's honesty. Alexandra's response surprises him. In that case, I'd love to. And ice cream is my treat. It's the least I can do for the two people who made my graduation day memorable. The ice cream shop is a small, family-owned place with mismatched chairs and faded photos on the walls. Alexandra seems more relaxed away from the formal university setting. When Tommy asks about her favorite color, she gives it serious consideration before answering. Forest green, she says thoughtfully, because it reminds me that even in the darkest places, life finds a way to grow. Marcus glances at her with new appreciation, struck by the depth of her response. Tommy nods as if this makes perfect sense and returns to his chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream with renewed focus. So what made you choose business? Marcus asks. I want to understand how companies work, how they make decisions, how they treat people, Alexandra explains, her voice growing animated. I think there's a lot of room for improvement in how businesses operate, especially when it comes to inclusion and accessibility. Marcus hears the passion in her voice and suspects her academic choice is deeply personal. That sounds like it could make a real difference in people's lives. I hope so, Alexandra says. I want to believe that people in positions of power can learn to see beyond surface assumptions. She glances at her wheelchair, then back at Marcus. There's so much more to any person than what's immediately visible. Dad always says people are like books, Tommy chimes in, ice cream coating his upper lip. You can't know what the story is just by looking at the cover. Both adults smile at the boy's wisdom. As they talk, Alexandra's phone chimes with a notification. She checks it, and her expression clouds over. Excuse me, she says, answering the call. Ms. Sinclair, this is Greta, your father's assistant, comes a crisp voice through the speaker. I wanted to inform you that a delivery has been made to your apartment. Mr. Sinclair sends his congratulations on your graduation. Thank you, Greta, Alexandra replies, her voice suddenly formal. Please tell my father I received his message. She hangs up and stares at her phone for a moment before placing it face down on the table. Her shoulders slump slightly. Before Marcus can ask if everything is okay, Tommy accidentally knocks his ice cream cone, sending a glob of chocolate chip cookie dough sliding onto Alexandra's graduation gown. Oh no, Tommy gasps in horror. I'm so sorry. Marcus jumps up, grabbing napkins. Alexandra, I'm so sorry. Your graduation gown. To his surprise, Alexandra bursts into genuine laughter. Well, she says, dabbing at the stain with a napkin, Now I finally have something real to remember about today. Her laughter is infectious, and soon all three of them are giggling. The tension from the phone call dissolves completely. As they prepare to leave, Alexandra turns to Marcus with an expression that seems almost vulnerable. "Thank you," she says, "both of you. I was dreading today, and you turned it into something I'll actually want to remember." "Why were you dreading it?" Tommy asks, his head tilted with curiosity. Alexandra looks at Marcus, who nods encouragingly. "Sometimes when good things happen, it can feel sad if you don't have family there to share them with," she explains gently. Tommy considers this seriously, his 8-year-old mind processing the complexity of adult emotions. "But we were there, and now we're like family friends, right, Dad?" Marcus feels his throat tighten with emotion. "Right, buddy." Alexandra's eyes fill with tears again, but this time they're definitely tears of joy. "I would really like that," she says softly. They part ways in the parking lot, exchanging contact information and promises to stay in touch that both adults know often go unfulfilled after chance encounters. Yet something about this meeting feels different, more significant than a random connection. Later that night, after putting Tommy to bed, Marcus stands at their apartment window, looking out at the city lights. His thoughts drift to Alexandra, her intelligence, her quiet strength, the way she connected with Tommy so naturally. He wonders what her story is, what led to her being alone on what should have been one of the proudest days of her life. His phone buzzes with a text message. "Thank you again for today. It meant more than you know. Alexandra." Marcus smiles, unsure how to respond. He's not used to communicating with anyone outside of work and Tommy's school. Before he can bother think it, he types, "We enjoyed meeting you too." Tommy hasn't stopped talking about his new smart friend. In her own apartment across town, Alexandra sits in her living room, staring at a large gift box on her coffee table. Inside is an expensive watch with a card signed by her father's secretary, reading "Proud of you" in elegant calligraphy that isn't her father's handwriting. Next to it lies a substantial check, financially generous but emotionally empty. She looks at the ice cream stain on her graduation gown, then at the text she just sent to Marcus. For the first time in years, she feels a genuine connection to someone, to two someones who saw her as Alexandra, not as Nathan Sinclair's daughter or the girl in the wheelchair. Her phone buzzes with Marcus's reply. She reads it and smiles, then hesitates before typing another message. "Tommy is pretty special. You're doing an amazing job with him." Marcus reads her text while folding laundry. The simple affirmation of his parenting, something he constantly doubts, warms him unexpectedly. "He's the best thing in my life," he replies honestly, "even on the hardest days." Alexandra sets her phone down, contemplating his words. She wonders what those hard days look like for them, what challenges a single father and his young son face that she's never had to consider, despite her own difficulties. In his bedroom, Tommy lies awake, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars on his ceiling. "Dad?" he calls out. Marcus appears in the doorway. "Yeah, buddy, you should be asleep. Will we see the sad lady again? I like her. She wasn't sad anymore when she was with us." Marcus leans against the doorframe, considering his answer. "Her name is Alexandra, and I don't know, buddy. Sometimes people just need someone to be kind to them for a day, not forever." Tommy frowns, processing this. "But I like her, and you smiled a lot when you were talking to her. You don't smile that much with other grown-ups." Marcus is taken aback by his son's observation. "I did?" Tommy nods emphatically. "Yep, and she has pretty eyes, like the ocean in my book about dolphins." Marcus chuckles. "Go to sleep, little matchmaker." "We've got school tomorrow." Tommy yawns. "What's a matchmaker?" "Someone who tries to get two people together. Now sleep." Tommy snuggles deeper under his covers. "I'm a good matchmaker," he mumbles sleepily. 4 weeks pass. Marcus and Alexandra exchange occasional texts, funny observations about their days, photos of interesting things they see. Nothing deep, nothing committal, but a connection neither is willing to let fade entirely. Then, on a rainy Monday morning, Marcus's ancient car finally gives up completely. Steam billows from under the hood as he pulls to the side of the road, Tommy already late for school in the back seat. "What's happening, Dad?" Tommy asks, his voice tinged with worry. Marcus hits the steering wheel in frustration. "Nothing good, buddy." He calls his boss to explain he'll be late, then calls a tow truck, wincing at the cost. As he's arranging a rideshare to take Tommy to school, his phone rings. "Dad, the school nurse says I don't feel good," Tommy says weakly from the back seat. Marcus turns to find his son pale and sweating. He places a hand on Tommy's forehead and feels the heat radiating from him. "You're burning up, buddy." Panic rises in Marcus's chest. No car, no way to get Tommy home, no family to call for help. The rideshare won't take a sick child. His coworkers all live in the opposite direction. The tow truck won't arrive for at least an hour. In desperation, he scrolls through his contacts and stops at Alexandra's name. He hesitates, thumb hovering over the call button. They've only met once. Texting is one thing, but asking for help is another level entirely. Tommy moans softly in the back seat, and Marcus makes the call. Alexandra answers on the third ring. "Marcus? Hi, this is a surprise." "Alexandra, I'm so sorry to ask this," Marcus interrupts, words tumbling out. "My car broke down. Tommy's sick with a fever. I'm stuck, waiting for a tow truck, and I have no way to get him home. I wouldn't ask if I had any other option." "Where are you?" Alexandra asks immediately, her tone shifting from surprise to decisive action. 20 minutes later, a wheelchair-accessible van pulls up behind Marcus's stranded car. Alexandra has arranged for a service that caters to people with disabilities to make the pickup, and she's inside waiting. "I can't thank you enough," Marcus says as he helps Tommy into the van. The boy is half asleep, feverish and miserable. "Don't worry about it," Alexandra says, making room for Tommy to lie down across the seats. "What are friends for?" At Marcus's small apartment, Alexandra proves surprisingly adept at navigating the tight spaces with her wheelchair, though it's clearly not designed for accessibility. She helps get Tommy settled in bed and finds children's fever medication in the bathroom cabinet. "I used to teach swimming to kids before my accident," she explains, gently coaxing Tommy to take the medicine. "You pick up a lot about childhood illnesses when you work with little ones." Marcus watches her easy manner with Tommy, the way she checks his temperature with the back of her hand, how she knows exactly what questions to ask about his symptoms. "You're good at this." Alexandra smiles sadly. "I always wanted a big family. Lots of kids, noise, chaos, everything I didn't have growing up. I was raised by a succession of nannies while my father built his empire." "And now?" Marcus asks quietly. She gestures to her wheelchair. "Life had other plans." Well, Tommy drifts off to sleep, and Marcus makes tea for them both. The apartment is small, just 2 bedrooms, a tiny kitchen, and a living area that doubles as Marcus's workspace. Books are stacked everywhere, and Tommy's artwork decorates the walls. It's clean, but clearly lived in, with furniture that has seen better days. "I'm sorry about the mess," Marcus says, suddenly self-conscious about the cramped conditions. "Don't be," Alexandra says, looking around with genuine interest. "This feels like a home. My place is 3 times the size and has half the personality." They sit at the small kitchen table, steam rising from their mugs. Outside, rain continues to fall steadily. "I should call my boss," Marcus says, rubbing his temples, "and figure out what to do about the car." "What happened to it?" "Radiator, probably. It's been on its last legs for years." He sighs heavily. "Couldn't come at a worse time. I'm already behind on Tommy's after-school program fees, and now this." Alexandra hesitates, then speaks carefully. "I know we don't know each other well, but I'd like to help." Marcus stiffens. "I'm not looking for charity." "Friendship isn't charity, Marcus," Alexandra says gently. "Friendship is knowing when to help and when to be helped, and I think we both need a friend." The simple truth of her words disarms him. He looks at her, really looks at her, and sees not pity, but understanding. Perhaps she recognizes something in him that mirrors her own struggles, different challenges, but the same essential loneliness. "I can help you research reliable used cars in your price range," she offers. "I'm pretty good at spreadsheets and cost analysis." Marcus manages a small smile. "I bet you are." Alexandra's phone chimes. She checks it, and her expression clouds. "My father," she explains, "wanting to know if I received his graduation gift." "Did you?" "A watch worth more than your car repairs and a check with lots of zeros," she says flatly. "But not his presence, never that." Marcus understands complicated family dynamics all too well. "My dad walked out when I was 17. Said supporting us was suffocating him. I dropped out of high school to help my mom support my younger siblings. That's why you're so determined to be there for Tommy, Alexandra observes. Every day, Marcus confirms. No matter what, Tommy calls weakly from the bedroom, and both adults move immediately. Marcus reaches his son first, Alexandra navigating her wheelchair carefully behind him. Hey buddy, how are you feeling? Marcus asks, placing a hand on Tommy's forehead. Bad, Tommy mumbles, then notices Alexandra. His eyes brighten slightly despite his fever. You came to our house. I did, Alexandra smiles. Your dad needed a hand today. Like when we helped you at graduation? Tommy asks. Exactly like that, she confirms. That's what friends do. Tommy seems satisfied with this explanation and drifts back to sleep. Marcus adjusts his blankets, and they return to the kitchen. I need to get to work for at least part of my shift, Marcus says worriedly. We can't afford for me to miss a full day, but I can't leave him alone. I can stay, Alexandra offers immediately. I don't have anywhere to be. Marcus hesitates. Are you sure? He's not your responsibility. I'm positive. I have my laptop. I can work on job applications while he rests. Go do what you need to do. The relief on Marcus's face is palpable. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, Alexandra says simply. You saw me when I was invisible to everyone else. Over the next few days, a pattern emerges. Alexandra helps with Tommy, while Marcus works extra shifts to cover the car repairs. She brings over her laptop and sets up at the kitchen table, applying for jobs and researching affordable vehicles for Marcus in between checking on Tommy. By the weekend, Tommy's fever has broken, and Marcus has saved enough for a down payment on a used car. Alexandra found through her methodical research. It's nothing fancy, but it's reliable, exactly what they need. I can't believe how much time you put into this, Marcus says, reviewing the detailed spreadsheet Alexandra created, comparing different models, maintenance costs, and fuel efficiency. It was actually fun, Alexandra admits. It felt good to use my skills for something practical instead of theoretical business cases. They're sitting on the small balcony of Marcus's apartment, watching Tommy play with neighborhood kids in the courtyard below. The evening is warm, and the setting sun bathes everything in golden light. Have you heard back from any job applications? Marcus asks. Alexandra shakes her head. 3 rejections so far. They don't say it's because of the wheelchair, but I can tell during the interviews. There's always that moment when they realize the accommodations they'd need to make. That's discrimination, Marcus says angrily. Isn't there some law against that? In theory. In practice, they just say other candidates were more qualified. She sighs. My father keeps offering me a position at his company, but I don't want a job I didn't earn. What does your father do exactly? Marcus asks, realizing he knows very little about her background. He's Nathan Sinclair, CEO of Sinclair Consulting Group, Alexandra says matter-of-factly. Marcus nearly chokes on his drink. Wait, Sinclair Consulting? The multinational firm? That Nathan Sinclair? Alexandra nods, suddenly self-conscious. Yeah. And you're living in a regular apartment, applying for entry-level jobs when you could be working for a father who sees me as a problem to be managed? Alexandra interrupts. No, thank you. I'd rather struggle on my own terms than succeed on his. Marcus studies her with new understanding. Her determination to make her own way despite having an easy path available speaks volumes about her character. I've never been to my father's office, Alexandra admits quietly. Not since the accident. I know he's ashamed of me, of how clients might perceive his damaged daughter. Then he's a fool, Marcus says with unexpected intensity. Because all I see when I look at you is strength. Their eyes meet and something unspoken passes between them. A recognition, an understanding, perhaps the beginning of something neither is ready to name. Tommy's voice breaks the moment as he calls up from the courtyard. Dad, Alexandra, watch me do a cartwheel. They both turn their attention to the boy below, who proceeds to attempt a lopsided cartwheel that ends with him tumbling onto the grass, laughing. Perfect form, buddy, Marcus calls down, giving a thumbs up. Alexandra smiles, watching the easy affection between father and son. For the first time in a long time, she feels like part of something warm and real. Not a charity case, not a problem to be solved, but simply a person among people who see her for who she is. The following Monday, Alexandra has an interview with a small consulting firm specializing in business strategy for nonprofits. She's excited about the possibility. The role would allow her to use her business acumen for organizations making a positive impact. The interview starts well. The hiring manager is impressed with Alexandra's credentials and thoughtful answers. Then comes the inevitable pivot. Our office is on the third floor, the manager says, glancing uncomfortably at Alexandra's wheelchair. The building is quite old, and I'm not sure if the elevator is reliable. I'm very adaptable, Alexandra responds smoothly, and there are several cost-effective modifications that could make your workspace more accessible, not just for employees, but for clients as well. The manager shifts in her seat. Our team frequently visits client sites, many of which aren't wheelchair accessible. I'm concerned about your ability to fulfill those duties. Alexandra takes a deep breath, maintaining her professional demeanor despite the familiar sting. Actually, this presents an excellent opportunity. Did you know that over 20% of Americans have some form of disability? That's a significant portion of your client's stakeholders who might feel excluded from their services. By having someone on your team who understands accessibility challenges firsthand, you could help your clients expand their reach dramatically. The manager seems taken aback by this perspective. That's an interesting approach. It's not just interesting, it's good business, Alexandra continues, passion rising in her voice. Diversity isn't charity, it's a competitive advantage. I've prepared a brief analysis of how inclusive practices correlate with organizational effectiveness. She pulls out a document from her portfolio, research she's compiled specifically for this interview. The manager reviews it with growing interest, but ultimately sighs. These are compelling points, Alexandra, but I'm not sure our organization is ready for this kind of change right now. Alexandra recognizes the gentle rejection for what it is. She maintains her smile, thanks the manager for her time, and wheels herself out of the office with dignity intact. Only when she reaches her van does she allow herself a moment of frustration, hitting the steering wheel with the heel of her hand. "Not again," she whispers. Instead of going home, Alexandra makes an impulsive decision. She pulls out her phone and searches for the address of Sinclair Consulting Group's headquarters. She's never visited, not since before the accident when she was a teenager with vague notions of someday following in her father's footsteps. 20 minutes later, she sits in the lobby of an impressive glass tower downtown, gathering her courage. The receptionist eyes her curiously, but says nothing as Alexandra approaches the desk. "I'd like to see Nathan Sinclair, please." The receptionist raises an eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No, tell him his daughter is here." The woman's eyes widen slightly, but she makes the call. Minutes later, Alexandra is escorted to a private elevator that takes her to the top floor. Nathan Sinclair's office is exactly as she imagined. Spacious, immaculately designed, with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a panoramic view of the city. Her father stands behind his desk, visibly shocked by her unannounced appearance. "Alexandra, this is unexpected." Nathan is tall and distinguished at 55, with salt and pepper hair and the same green eyes as his daughter. He moves around the desk but stops short of embracing her, settling for an awkward pat on the shoulder. "3 years since my accident, and I've never seen where you spend 14 hours a day," Alexandra observes, looking around the office. "Nice view." Nathan clears his throat. "What brings you here today?" "Curiosity," Alexandra says, wheeling herself to the window. "And I had another job interview that didn't pan out." "I've told you repeatedly that there's a position for you here." "I don't want a position created out of obligation," Alexandra interrupts. "I want to earn my place." Nathan sighs. "Then why are you here?" Before Alexandra can answer, his assistant knocks and enters with an urgent expression. "Mr. Sinclair, legal needs you immediately. It's about the Hartman situation." Nathan's face darkens. "I'll be right there." He turns to Alexandra. "I'm sorry, but this can't wait." "Of course it can't," Alexandra says quietly. "It never can." "We'll talk later," Nathan promises, already moving toward the door. "Have dinner with me tonight?" "I have plans," Alexandra lies. "Maybe another time." After her father leaves, Alexandra doesn't immediately follow. Instead, she wheels herself to his desk, curious about what occupies his time and attention. Among the papers is a legal brief with discrimination suit, Hartman versus Sinclair Consulting, at the top. Intrigued, she scans the document quickly. Robert Hartman, a former employee with multiple sclerosis, is suing the company for wrongful termination and discrimination. The legal team is recommending a settlement to avoid negative publicity. Alexandra sits back, processing this information. Her father's company, the company that bears their name, is facing accusations of the very discrimination she's experienced in her job search. The irony isn't lost on her. When Nathan returns 15 minutes later, he finds Alexandra still at his desk, the legal brief in her hands. "You shouldn't be reading that," he says sharply. "Why not?" "It's about disability discrimination, something I know a little about." Alexandra holds up the document. "This isn't just a PR problem, Dad. It's a failure of leadership." Nathan's expression hardens. "You don't understand the complexities of running a global organization." "No, but I understand what it feels like to be Robert Hartman," Alexandra counters. "To be seen as a liability rather than an asset because of something you can't control." "That's not what happened." "Isn't it?" Alexandra challenges. "Your legal team is recommending you settle because they know you'll lose in court." "Because he's right." Nathan runs a hand through his hair in frustration. "What do you want me to do, Alexandra? This is business." "Let me help," she says suddenly, surprising even herself. "I have a degree in business administration with a focus on organizational behavior. I've experienced disability discrimination firsthand. I can help you fix this. Not just the lawsuit, but the underlying problem." Nathan stares at his daughter as if seeing her in a new light. "You want to work on the Hartman case?" "I want to develop a comprehensive diversity and inclusion strategy for Sinclair Consulting," Alexandra clarifies, "starting with this case." "You've never worked a day in your life," Nathan points out, "and now you want to tackle one of the most sensitive issues facing this company?" "I've never worked a day in your company," Alexandra corrects him, "but I've worked harder than you know just to navigate a world that wasn't built for me." She straightens in her wheelchair. "I don't need you to give me a position, Dad. I'm asking for a chance to earn one." Nathan studies his daughter for a long moment, seeing perhaps for the first time the determined young woman she's become, rather than the broken girl he's been avoiding since the accident. "Present your proposal to the executive team next week," he says finally. "If they approve it, you'll get your chance." Alexandra nods, a mixture of triumph and apprehension flooding through her. She's finally gotten her foot into the door, but now she has to prove herself, not just to the executives, but to her father as well. As she leaves the building, Alexandra pulls out her phone and calls Marcus. "Are you busy? I could use some advice." That evening in Marcus's small kitchen, Alexandra outlines her impromptu proposal while Marcus prepares a simple dinner. Tommy sits at the table, coloring but clearly listening to the adults' conversation. "So basically, you walked into your father's company unannounced and landed yourself a chance to present to the executive board?" Marcus summarizes, impressed. "More like wheeled in," Alexandra corrects with a small smile. "But yes, and now I need to develop a comprehensive diversity strategy in less than a week." "You can do it," Tommy pipes up without looking up from his coloring. "You're the smartest person we know." Alexandra and Marcus exchange an amused glance at Tommy's unwavering confidence. "Thanks for the vote of confidence, buddy," Alexandra says, "but this is a pretty big challenge." "You told me challenges help us grow," Tommy reminds her, echoing something she'd said during his illness. "Like plants pushing through sidewalks." Marcus sets plates on the table. "He's got you there, and he's right. If anyone can do this, it's you." Alexandra looks around the small kitchen, at Tommy's earnest face and Marcus's encouraging smile. In this modest apartment, she's found something her father's wealth and influence never provided. People who believe in her simply for who she is, not what she might accomplish or represent. "I think I need to draw on my own experience," she says thoughtfully. "Not just academic theory, but what it actually feels like to be excluded. To be seen as a problem rather than a person with valuable perspectives." Marcus nods. "That's your advantage. You're not just talking about diversity as a concept, you're living it." As they eat dinner together, the conversation shifts to Tommy's upcoming school event, a talent show where he'll be reciting a poem he wrote. Alexandra listens attentively as Tommy practices his recitation, offering gentle suggestions to help with his delivery. Later, after Tommy goes to bed, Marcus and Alexandra sit on the small balcony again, the night air cool around them. "Thank you," Alexandra says quietly. "For what? I didn't do anything." "For believing in me, for not treating me like I'm fragile or incapable, for seeing me as just me." Marcus looks at her thoughtfully. "That's not something you should have to thank someone for. It should be the baseline." "Maybe," Alexandra agrees, "but it's rare enough that it feels worth acknowledging." Their conversation drifts to their respective childhoods. Alexandra's privileged but emotionally distant upbringing, Marcus's financially struggling but loving family before his father left. Despite their vastly different backgrounds, they find common ground in their determination to forge their own paths. "I should go," Alexandra says eventually, checking the time. "I have a lot of work to do before this presentation." "Let me know if you need anything," Marcus offers, even if it's just someone to bounce ideas off of. As Marcus helps her navigate down the single step from his apartment to the building's elevator, their hands touch briefly. The contact is fleeting but charged with an awareness neither is ready to acknowledge. Over the next few days, Alexandra throws herself into preparing her presentation, frequently texting Marcus for feedback on her ideas. He offers practical perspectives that balance her more theoretical approach, helping her craft a proposal that addresses both high-level policy and day-to-day implementation. The night before her presentation, Alexandra works late in her apartment, refining her slides and practicing her delivery. Her phone rings just as she's considering calling it a night. "Hey," Marcus's voice comes through the speaker. "Just checking in. How's it going?" "I think I'm as ready as I'll ever be," Alexandra sighs. "But I'm nervous. These are seasoned executives, and I'm a complete novice." "You're also Nathan Sinclair's daughter, who graduated summa cum laude and has firsthand experience with the very issues they're facing," Marcus reminds her. "Don't sell yourself short." "What if I fail?" she asks, voicing her deepest fear. "What if this is my one chance to prove myself to my father and I blow it?" "Then you'll find another way," Marcus says simply. "Failure isn't final unless you let it be." His quiet confidence steadies her. "How do you do that?" "Do what?" "Make everything seem manageable, even when it's overwhelming." Marcus chuckles. "Practice. Single parenting requires a lot of fake it till you make it, and believing that tomorrow is another chance to get it right." They talk until Alexandra's nervousness subsides, replaced by a renewed determination. Before they hang up, Marcus says, "Tommy wants you to know he's thinking about you tomorrow." His exact words were, "Tell Alexandra to show those business people how awesome she is." Alexandra laughs, warmth spreading through her chest. "Tell him thank you. That means a lot to me." "It means a lot to him too," Marcus says softly. "To both of us." After they hang up, Alexandra adds a slide to her presentation. A simple quote about seeing beyond limitations to recognize potential. It's not from a famous business leader or diversity expert, but from something Tommy said during her first visit to their apartment. She knows it will be the most powerful moment of her presentation. The next morning, Alexandra arrives at Sinclair Consulting dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, her wheelchair polished to a shine. The executive boardroom is intimidating. 12 stern-faced men and women seated around a massive table, with Nathan at the head. "Ladies and gentlemen," Nathan begins formally, "my daughter, Alexandra Sinclair, has prepared a presentation on diversity and inclusion strategies relevant to our current challenges. Alexandra, you have the floor." Alexandra takes a deep breath and wheels herself to the front of the room. "Thank you for this opportunity," she begins. "Today, I'm going to talk about turning perceived liabilities into competitive advantages." For the next 20 minutes, she delivers a compelling presentation that combines business analytics with personal insight. She outlines the costs of discrimination lawsuits versus the benefits of inclusive practices. She presents case studies of companies that have successfully implemented diversity initiatives and seen measurable improvements in innovation and performance. Then she reaches her final slide, Tommy's quote about seeing beyond the surface. "An 80-year-old boy told me this," Alexandra says, her voice strong and clear. "He understands intuitively what many organizations struggle to implement, that our differences aren't weaknesses to be overcome, but perspectives to be valued." Robert Hartman wasn't a liability to this company because of his multiple sclerosis. He was an asset because of his unique viewpoint. a viewpoint you lost when you pushed him out. She turns directly to her father. Sinclair Consulting has an opportunity here, not just to settle a lawsuit, but to become a leader in workplace inclusion. The question is whether you have the courage to see beyond the surface, to recognize potential where others see only problems. The room is silent when she finishes. Then slowly, one of the executives begins to applaud. Others join in, and soon the entire room is filled with the sound of approval, all except Nathan, who remains stonily silent. "Thank you, Alexandra," he says when the applause dies down. "We'll discuss your proposals and get back to you." His dismissive tone is like a bucket of cold water. Alexandra nods professionally, thanks the board for their time, and wheels herself out of the room with her head held high, even as disappointment washes over her. She's waiting for the elevator when Nathan catches up to her. "Alexandra, wait." She turns, bracing herself for criticism. "That was—" Nathan hesitates. "That was impressive, truly." Alexandra blinks in surprise. "Really? You seemed underwhelmed." Nathan runs a hand through his hair, a gesture Alexandra recognizes as discomfort. "I was caught off guard. You were so confident, so articulate. I didn't expect—" "You didn't expect me to be competent," Alexandra finishes for him, a lifetime of hurt bubbling to the surface. "Because all you see when you look at me is this." She gestures to her wheelchair. "That's not fair," Nathan protests. "Isn't it? You've barely looked at me since the accident. You couldn't even make it to my graduation because you were ashamed." "Because I was guilty," Nathan erupts, his composure cracking. "Every time I see you in that chair, I remember that I paid for that ski trip. I encouraged you to go with those friends. I put you on that mountain." Alexandra stares at her father, stunned into silence. All this time, she'd thought his distance was disgust or disappointment. It had never occurred to her that it might be guilt. "Dad," she says finally, her voice gentler, "the accident wasn't your fault." "Wasn't it?" Nathan's voice is raw with emotion he's clearly been suppressing for years. "I spent your entire childhood, Charles, trying to give you everything except the one thing you actually needed, my presence. And then when you finally needed me most, after the accident, I couldn't face what I'd done." "You didn't push me down that mountain," Alexandra says firmly. "It was an accident, and avoiding me hasn't helped either of us heal." Nathan looks at his daughter, really looks at her, perhaps for the first time since that terrible day 3 years ago. "The board was impressed with your presentation. They want to implement your recommendations." "And what do you want, Dad?" Nathan hesitates, then answers with uncharacteristic honesty. "A chance to know the remarkable woman my daughter has become." The elevator arrives, but Alexandra doesn't immediately enter. "I'd like that too," she says quietly. "But it's going to take more than one conversation." "I know," Nathan acknowledges. "It's a start, though." As Alexandra rides the elevator down, emotions war within her, hope for a new beginning with her father, pride in her professional achievement, and an urgent desire to share both with Marcus and Tommy. They've become her touchstones, the people she most wants to celebrate with or seek comfort from. She pulls out her phone to call Marcus, wondering when exactly these two unlikely people became so central to her world, and what that might mean for her future. 2 weeks later, Alexandra sits in her new temporary office at Sinclair Consulting, reviewing the implementation plan for her diversity initiative. The board not only approved her proposal, but offered her a 6-month consulting position to oversee its rollout. It's not a permanent role. Alexandra was adamant about earning her place rather than being installed by her father, but it's a start. Her phone chimes with a text from Marcus. "Tommy's being bullied at school. Could use some advice when you're free." Alexandra immediately calls him back. "What happened?" Marcus's voice is tight with barely controlled anger. "Some kids were making fun of him for his worn-out shoes and for not having a mom. The teacher called me after Tommy got into a shoving match defending himself." "Is he okay?" "Physically, yes. Emotionally?" Marcus sighs heavily. "He's trying to be tough about it, but I can tell it hurt him. I wish I could afford to get him new shoes, but after the car repairs—" Alexandra hesitates, not wanting to overstep. "I have an idea. What if I take Tommy shopping this weekend? Just as friends hanging out." "Alexandra, I can't ask you to buy my son's shoes." "You're not asking. I'm offering. And it's not about the shoes, Marcus. It's about showing Tommy that having friends who care about you is more valuable than having expensive things. There's a long pause before Marcus responds. Let me think about it. That evening, Alexandra joins them for dinner at their apartment. Tommy is quieter than usual, picking at his food without his typical enthusiasm. Hey, Alexandra says gently, your dad told me about what happened at school. Tommy shrugs, not meeting her eyes. It's no big deal. It is a big deal when people are unkind, Alexandra corrects him, and it's okay to feel bad about it. Tommy looks up, his expression vulnerable. Jason said I'm weird because I don't have a mom, and that's why I have to wear old shoes. Marcus tenses, but Alexandra speaks first. You know, before my accident, kids used to bully me too. Really? Tommy looks skeptical. But you're rich. Tommy, Marcus warns, but Alexandra waves him off. It's okay. Yes, my family has money, and that made me different. Kids would say I was stuck up, or that my father just bought my grades. Then after my accident, they found new reasons to think I was different. She gestures to her wheelchair. People often focus on what makes us stand out instead of what makes us the same. Like not having the right shoes, Tommy asks. Exactly. But you know what I learned? Alexandra leans forward conspiratorially. The strongest people aren't the ones with the fanciest things or the most perfect lives. They're the ones who know who they are and are proud of it anyway. Tommy considers this. I'm proud that my dad works really hard and helps me with homework even when he's tired. And I'm proud that I can make pancakes all by myself on Sundays. Those are excellent things to be proud of, Alexandra affirms. Can I be proud that you're my friend too? Tommy asks innocently. Because Jason doesn't have a friend who graduated from college and works in a big building downtown. Alexandra's heart melts a little. I would be honored if you were proud of that. Later, after Tommy goes to bed, Marcus and Alexandra sit in the living room, talking in low voices. Thank you for how you handled that, Marcus says. You have a way with him. He makes it easy, Alexandra admits. He's such a good kid, Marcus. You're doing an amazing job with him. Marcus runs a hand through his hair. I try, but days like today make me wonder if it's enough. What do you mean? I keep thinking about what Clara would want for him. New shoes when he needs them, a home in a better school district, college savings. Marcus's voice cracks slightly. Things I can barely imagine providing on my salary. Alexandra reaches out impulsively and takes his hand. Tommy has something many kids with all those things don't have. A father who loves him completely and is present every day. That matters more than shoes or savings accounts. Marcus looks down at their joined hands, then back at Alexandra's face. Something shifts in the air between them, an acknowledgement of feelings that have been growing steadily since that first meeting at graduation. About this weekend, Marcus says, his voice slightly rougher than before. If you still want to take Tommy shopping, I'd appreciate it, but I want to pay you back, even if it takes time. How about a compromise, Alexandra suggests. Let me take him shopping as a friend, no strings attached, and you can help me with something I need. What's that? My apartment building's elevator is being repaired this weekend, which basically traps me in my unit. Could Tommy and I hang out here after shopping? I could use the company, and it would give us a chance to talk more about handling bullies. Marcus sees through the transparent excuse. Alexandra is creating a scenario where her help doesn't feel like charity, but he appreciates the effort to preserve his dignity. That sounds fair. Saturday morning finds Alexandra and Tommy at the local mall. She's careful to guide him toward reasonably priced shoes that are still good quality, teaching him about what makes footwear durable and comfortable. The most expensive ones aren't always the best, she explains as Tommy tries on a pair of mid-range sneakers. It's about finding the right balance between quality and value. Tommy nods seriously, absorbing this lesson in practical economics. These feel really good, and they light up when I jump. He demonstrates, hopping energetically, and Alexandra laughs at his delight. Perfect choice, she approves. Now, should we get some ice cream before heading back to your place? Tommy's eyes widen. Can we? Dad usually says treats are for special days. I think standing up to bullies and learning to make smart shopping choices definitely qualifies as special, Alexandra decides. Over ice cream, Tommy grows pensive. Alexandra, can I ask you something? Anything. Is your dad mean to you like Jason is mean to me? Alexandra nearly chokes on her ice cream. What makes you ask that? Because you seemed sad when you talked about him before. And he didn't come to your graduation, even though dads are supposed to be at important things. Alexandra considers how to answer truthfully while remaining age-appropriate. My father and I have a complicated relationship. He's not mean on purpose, but he sometimes doesn't understand what I need from him. Like hugs and stuff? Yes, like emotional support, but we're working on it now. People can change and relationships can get better if both people try. Tommy licks his ice cream thoughtfully. Does your dad know you're friends with us? He does. Why? Because we're not rich like you. My teacher says some people only want to be friends with people who are the same as them. Alexandra feels a rush of protectiveness toward this perceptive child who's already learning about social stratification. Some people are like that, but they miss out on knowing wonderful people who are different from them. Differences make friendships more interesting. Tommy seems satisfied with this answer. I think so too. Can you come to family day at my school next month? Dad says friends or family we choose. Alexandra is touched by the invitation. I'd be honored, Tommy, if your dad says it's okay. When they return to the apartment, Marcus is studying at the kitchen table, textbooks spread around him. He looks up, surprised. You're back early. We are efficient shoppers, Alexandra declares. Tommy found perfect shoes, and we celebrated with ice cream. Ice cream before lunch? Marcus raises an eyebrow but smiles. Special occasion, Tommy explains, showing off his new sneakers with an enthusiastic jump that makes the lights flash. Marcus examines the shoes, nodding approvingly. These look great, buddy. Did you say thank you to Alexandra? Instead of responding verbally, Tommy throws his arms around Alexandra in a tight hug. Thank you for being our friend, he says with 8-year-old earnestness. Thank you for being mine, she responds softly. Over lunch, Alexandra notices the textbooks. What are you studying? Marcus looks slightly embarrassed. I've been thinking about what you said about believing in myself. I signed up for night classes to get my GED. If all goes well, maybe community college after that. Alexandra beams at him. Marcus, that's fantastic. What made you decide to go for it? Tommy mostly, Marcus admits. I want him to see that education matters, that it's never too late, and he hesitates. I want to be able to provide more for him, maybe get a better job eventually. What did you want to study before? Alexandra trails off, not wanting to mention Clara's death in front of Tommy. Engineering SIE, Marcus says. I was always good with machines, figuring out how things work. Clara used to say I could fix anything except a broken heart. His smile is bittersweet. Tommy, who has been coloring quietly, looks up. Dad's going to build robots someday, right, Dad? Maybe, buddy, one step at a time. Alexandra studies Marcus with new appreciation, seeing not just the dedicated father, but the man with dreams of his own that were deferred but not abandoned. I could help you study, she offers. Business administration might not be engineering, but I'm pretty good at academic stuff. I might take you up on that, Marcus admits. The afternoon passes pleasantly, with Tommy showing Alexandra his school projects while Marcus continues studying. There's an easy domesticity to their interaction, as if Alexandra has always been part of their small family unit. When it's time for her to leave, Tommy asks, will you come over again soon? If your dad doesn't mind, Alexandra says, looking to Marcus for confirmation. You're always welcome, Marcus says sincerely. Tommy and I both enjoy having you around. At the door, their goodbye lingers a moment longer than necessary. Thank you again for today, Marcus says quietly. The shoes mean a lot to him. It was my pleasure, Alexandra replies, and I meant what I said about helping with your studies. I believe in you, Marcus. Their eyes lock, and Marcus leans forward slightly, as if drawn by an invisible force. For a breathless moment, Alexandra thinks he might kiss her, and realizes how much she wants him to. But then Tommy calls from inside, breaking the spell, and the moment passes. I should go, Alexandra says, her cheeks flushing slightly. Yeah, Marcus agrees, equally flustered. I'll call you. In the weeks that follow, a routine develops. Alexandra spends several evenings at Marcus's apartment, helping him with GED preparation after Tommy goes to bed. Marcus makes steady progress, his natural intelligence making up for years of missed formal education. Alexandra is impressed by his quick grasp of concepts and his determination to succeed despite working full-time in parenting. At Sinclair Consulting, Alexandra's diversity initiative begins showing promising results. The company settles with Robert Hartman, but goes beyond financial compensation to implement structural changes. Wheelchair ramps are installed, flexible working arrangements are offered to employees with health conditions, and sensitivity training becomes mandatory for all managers. Nathan makes halting efforts to rebuild their relationship. He invites Alexandra to weekly lunches, awkward at first, but gradually becoming more comfortable as they cautiously share parts of their lives with each other. He notices her frequent mentions of Marcus and Tommy, but says little about them, observing rather than commenting. One evening, as Alexandra and Marcus take a break from studying to have tea on the balcony, Marcus broaches a subject that's been on his mind. Tommy's school is having their family day event next Friday, he says. He's been asking if you'd come with us. Alexandra smiles. He mentioned it when we went shopping. I'd love to, but... She hesitates. I don't want to overstep. It's a family event. Tommy considers you family, Marcus says simply. And so do I. The words hang in the air between them, weighted with meaning neither is quite ready to articulate. Then I'd be honored, Alexandra says softly. There's something else, Marcus continues, looking slightly uncomfortable. There's a company party at my firm next week. Some executives are recognizing your work on the diversity initiative. I'd like to be there to support you, if that wouldn't be weird. Alexandra is touched by the offer. I'd love to have you there, but are you sure? It might be a bit fancy for a factory worker. Marcus finishes with a wry smile. That's not what I meant, Alexandra protests. I know, Marcus assures her, but I'm aware of how different our worlds are. I just don't think that has to matter if we don't let it. 2 nights later, Alexandra is woken by a phone call at 2 a.m. It's Marcus, his voice tense with worry. Tommy's really sick, high fever, and he's having trouble breathing. I'm taking him to the emergency room. I'll meet you there, Alexandra says immediately, already reaching for clothes. You don't have to. I'm coming, she says firmly. Which hospital? At Memorial Children's Hospital, Alexandra finds Marcus in the waiting room, pacing anxiously. His face is haggard with worry, and he looks up with visible relief when she wheels through the doors. Any news? She asks, reaching for his hand. They're running tests, Marcus says, his voice rough with exhaustion. They think it might be pneumonia. Alexandra squeezes his hand. Tommy's strong. He'll be okay. Marcus nods, too overwhelmed to speak. They sit together in silence, hands still linked, until a doctor appears to confirm the diagnosis: bacterial pneumonia. Tommy will need to stay in the hospital for treatment with IV antibiotics. Can I see him? Marcus asks immediately. He's sleeping now, but yes, you can sit with him, the doctor confirms. Just one person at a time in the room, though. Marcus turns to Alexandra. I'll go first, then maybe you can sit with him while I call work to let them know I won't be in tomorrow. Of course, Alexandra agrees. Take as long as you need with him. When it's her turn to sit with Tommy, Alexandra is struck by how small and vulnerable he looks in the hospital bed, hooked up to monitors and an IV. His normally animated face is pale and still, his breathing labored despite the oxygen support. She wheels to his bedside and gently takes his small hand in hers. Hey, Tommy, she whispers, though he's sleeping too deeply to hear. You've got this, buddy. Your dad and I are right here. Over the next 3 days, Tommy's condition improves slowly. Marcus is a constant presence, leaving only when absolutely necessary for brief showers or to pick up changes of clothes. Alexandra arranges to work remotely, setting up her laptop in the hospital cafeteria and coming up to Tommy's room whenever Marcus needs a break. On the 3rd night after Tommy's fever finally breaks, Marcus returns from getting coffee to find Alexandra asleep in her wheelchair beside Tommy's bed, still holding the boy's hand. A nurse passing by stops to speak with Marcus. Your friend hasn't left all day, she says quietly. She hired an aide to help her navigate the hospital so she wouldn't have to leave your son alone while you were gone. He woke up briefly and was asking for both of you. Marcus feels a wave of emotion so powerful it nearly buckles his knees. He's been so focused on Tommy that he hasn't fully registered Alexandra's unwavering support, not just for Tommy, but for him too. She's rearranged her life, put her work on hold, spent her own money on assistance, all to ensure that neither he nor Tommy would face this crisis alone. He studies her sleeping form, the uncomfortable position she's endured just to maintain contact with his son, and something crystallizes in his heart. This isn't just gratitude or friendship. This is love, deep, certain, and terrifying in its intensity. When Tommy is finally released from the hospital, Alexandra helps them settle back into the apartment, stocking the refrigerator and making sure Tommy has everything he needs for a comfortable recovery. Marcus watches her efficient movements, her gentle interactions with Tommy, and wonders how they ever managed without her. That night, after Tommy falls asleep, Marcus and Alexandra sit on the couch, both exhausted but relieved. "I don't know how to thank you," Marcus says quietly. "You don't have to," Alexandra replies. "That's not why I did it." "Why did you?" The question is direct, his eyes searching hers. Alexandra takes a deep breath. "Because I care about Tommy, and because I care about you more than I've ever cared about anyone." The admission hangs between them, vulnerable and honest. Marcus reaches out, brushing a strand of hair from her face with gentle fingers. "I feel the same way," he confesses. "But I've been afraid to say it." "Afraid of what?" "That it's too soon after meeting, that our lives are too different, that I don't have enough to offer someone like you." Alexandra shakes her head firmly. "I spent years surrounded by wealth and status, Marcus. None of it made me feel seen or valued or understood the way you do." Slowly giving her every chance to pull away, Marcus leans forward and kisses her. It's gentle at first, tentative, but deepens as Alexandra responds, her hands coming up to frame his face. When they finally part, both are slightly breathless. "I've wanted to do that since the day we went for ice cream," Marcus admits. Alexandra smiles. "I've wanted you to." As Tommy recovers, their relationship blossoms. Alexandra begins staying over occasionally, sleeping in the small guest room that doubles as Marcus's study space. They establish a comfortable routine. Alexandra helps Tommy with homework, while Marcus studies or prepares dinner. Weekends are spent together, exploring parks or museums, carefully choosing activities that are both accessible for Alexandra and affordable for Marcus. At Sinclair Consulting, Alexandra's project continues to gain traction. What began as a response to a discrimination lawsuit has evolved into a company-wide transformation, with Alexandra's passion and expertise driving meaningful change. Nathan watches his daughter's success with growing pride, though he remains reserved about her personal life. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday, Alexandra receives a call that changes everything. A prestigious consulting firm based in Colorado has noticed her work at Sinclair and wants to interview her for a director-level position heading their new diversity and inclusion division. It's her dream job, the chance to create systemic change at a larger scale with better compensation and professional recognition than she ever imagined possible. There's just one catch. It would mean moving to Colorado away from Marcus and Tommy. Alexandra sits in her office, staring at the email confirmation of her interview, emotions warring within her. This is exactly the opportunity she's been working toward, the chance to prove herself on her own merits, to make a real difference in her field. Yet the thought of leaving Marcus and Tommy creates a physical ache in her chest. That evening, she tells Marcus about the opportunity, trying to keep her tone neutral despite her inner turmoil. "Alexandra, that's incredible," Marcus says, genuine happiness for her evident in his voice. "When is the interview?" "Next week. They're flying me out to Denver." "You have to go," Marcus says immediately. "This is exactly what you've been working for." "But what about us?" Alexandra asks, the question that's been weighing on her finally spoken aloud. Marcus takes her hands in his. "I would never ask you to give up a dream job for me. That's not love. That's possession. But if I got the pay, I'd have to move to Colorado." "Then we'd figure it out," Marcus says with more confidence than he feels. "People make long-distance relationships work all the time." Alexandra searches his face, seeing the conflict behind his supportive words. "What about Tommy? He's already lost his mother. I don't want him to feel abandoned." "Tommy loves you," Marcus acknowledges, "but he also understands that people sometimes have to make hard choices. We can visit during school breaks, use video calls. It wouldn't be the same, but it wouldn't be goodbye either." Alexandra nods, tears threatening. "I need to at least interview, to see if it's really what I want." Of course you do, Marcus agrees, pulling her into an embrace. And whatever you decide, I'll support you. That night, as Marcus lies awake long after Alexandra has gone home, he contemplates a future without her daily presence. The thought is more painful than he expected. In just a few months, she's become integral to their lives, not just as his girlfriend, but as Tommy's confidant, his own academic supporter, the person who makes their small apartment feel like a real home. He reminds himself that Alexandra deserves this opportunity. After years of fighting to be seen beyond her wheelchair, to be valued for her intelligence and determination, she's earned this recognition. Asking her to give that up would be selfish, no matter how much he wants her to stay. The next morning, as he drives Tommy to school, his son asks a question that pierces straight to Marcus's heart. Is Alexandra going to leave us for her new job? Marcus glances in the rearview mirror, surprised. How did you know about that, buddy? I heard you talking last night, Tommy admits. I got up to get water. Marcus sighs, reminded once again that children absorb far more than adults realize. Alexandra has an interview for a really important job in Colorado. If she gets it, she might move there. But we need her here, Tommy protests, his voice small. I know it feels that way, Marcus says gently. But Alexandra has worked really hard for this opportunity. Sometimes we have to be happy for people we love, even when their dreams take them away from us. Like when Mom went to heaven, Tommy asks, the innocent question hitting Marcus like a physical blow. That was different, buddy. Mom didn't choose to leave us. And Alexandra wouldn't be gone forever. We could visit her, and she could visit us. Tommy is quiet for a moment, processing this. I still don't want her to go, he finally says. Me neither, Marcus admits softly. But we need to support her decision, whatever it is. At the same time across town, Alexandra is having a similar conversation with her father over breakfast in his penthouse apartment. It's a new tradition they have established, Sunday morning meals together, tentatively rebuilding their relationship one awkward conversation at a time. Colorado? Nathan repeats after Alexandra shares her news. That's a significant opportunity. It's exactly the kind of role I've been working toward, Alexandra confirms. Director level, creating policy that could affect thousands of employees. Nathan nods thoughtfully. You'd be good at it. You've proven that here. Alexandra studies her father, surprised by his straightforward support. You think I should take it if it's offered? Professionally, absolutely, Nathan says. Then with uncharacteristic hesitation, he adds, personally, that's more complicated, isn't it? Alexandra blinks, caught off guard by his perceptiveness. What do you mean? This factory worker and his son, Nathan says carefully, they've become important to you. It's not really a question, but Alexandra answers anyway. Yes, very important. Nathan sips his coffee, choosing his words with unusual care. I've spent my life prioritizing professional success over personal connections. It's cost me my marriage, and for many years, it cost me my relationship with you. I'm not sure I'm in a position to advise anyone on work-life balance. The candid admission stuns Alexandra. It's perhaps the most honest conversation they have had in years. Dad, are you telling me to turn down a dream job for a relationship? No, Nathan says firmly. I'm telling you that both professional fulfillment and personal happiness matter. The trick, which I never mastered, is finding a way to have both. As the interview approaches, Alexandra throws herself into preparation, researching the company thoroughly and developing a comprehensive presentation of her vision for their diversity initiatives. Marcus supports her completely, quizzing her on potential questions and offering feedback on her presentation slides. The night before her flight to Denver, Alexandra stays late at Marcus's apartment. Tommy insists on helping her pack, solemnly selecting which of her blazers looks most professional and carefully folding it into her suitcase. The domestic intimacy of the moment, Tommy's earnest assistance, Marcus making her favorite tea, the three of them functioning as a unit, makes the prospect of leaving even more difficult. After Tommy goes to bed, Marcus and Alexandra sit on the balcony, the city lights twinkling below them. The spring air is cool but not cold, carrying the scent of blooming flowers from the small community garden in the courtyard. Whatever happens with this job, Alexandra says quietly, these past few months with you and Tommy have been the happiest of my life. Marcus takes her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. Mine too. I never thought I'd feel this way again after Clara died. I was focused solely on Tommy, on getting through each day. You've reminded me that there's more to life than just surviving it. I'm scared, Alexandra admits. Not of the interview, but of what comes after. What if the distance is too much? What if Tommy feels abandoned? What if we drift apart? Those are all valid concerns, Marcus acknowledges. But I believe in us, in what we've built together. It won't be easy, but nothing worthwhile ever is. Alexandra rests her head on his shoulder, trying to memorize this moment. The warmth of his body against hers, the steady rhythm of his breathing, the sense of belonging she's found in this unlikely place with these two extraordinary people. I love you, she says softly, the words spoken aloud for the first time. Both of you. Marcus turns to her, his eyes reflecting the city lights. We love you too. No matter what happens in Colorado, that won't change. Alexandra's interview in Denver exceeds all expectations. The company is impressed with her experience, her vision, and her personal passion for the work. They offer her the position on the spot, Director of Diversity and Inclusion, with a salary nearly triple what she was making at Sinclair, plus relocation assistance and a comprehensive benefits package. It's everything she's worked for, an opportunity beyond her wildest professional dreams. Yet as she stands at the floor-to-ceiling windows of the company's sleek headquarters, looking out at the stunning Rocky Mountain vista, Alexandra feels an unexpected emptiness. The view is breathtaking, but it's not the one from Marcus's small balcony. The office is impressive, but it lacks Tommy's crayon drawings magneted to the refrigerator. She accepts the position with one condition, the ability to work remotely part-time, traveling to Denver for 1 week each month. It's an unusual request for a director-level position, but given her unique qualifications and the company's commitment to flexible work arrangements, they agree to a trial period. On the flight home, Alexandra feels a mixture of triumph and trepidation. She's achieved a professional milestone, but the real challenge lies ahead, balancing her new role with the relationship that has become the center of her life. Meanwhile, Marcus receives news of his own. His GED test results have come back, and he's passed with flying colors. His community college application has been accepted, and he's eligible for a scholarship program for non-traditional students. It's a small step compared to Alexandra's career leap, but it represents a personal victory he once thought impossible. He's eager to share the news with Alexandra, to celebrate both their achievements together. But when he calls her cell phone, it goes straight to voicemail. She's still in the air, flying back from Denver. That evening, Marcus takes Tommy to his school's science fair. Tommy has created a project about plants growing in different environments, inspired by Alexandra's favorite color and her explanation about forest green representing life finding a way even in dark places. His display includes photos of plants growing through cracks in concrete, in the shadows of buildings, and in the harsh conditions of desert edges. Do you think Alexandra will like it? Tommy asks anxiously as they set up his project. She'll love it, Marcus assures him, helping to straighten the display board. It's creative and meaningful, just her style. As other families file into the school gymnasium, Marcus feels a pang of longing. These events always highlight Tommy's lack of a mother, the empty space beside Marcus where Clara should be. But for the first time, he can imagine someone else filling that void. Alexandra, with her insightful questions and genuine interest in Tommy's ideas. The science fair begins with students stationed beside their projects as judges and parents circulate through the gym. Tommy explains his experiment confidently to the first few visitors, but his eyes keep darting to the entrance, clearly hoping for Alexandra to appear. Marcus checks his phone repeatedly, but there's still no message. He reminds himself that her flight might be delayed, that she's probably exhausted from the interview and travel. He shouldn't expect her to rush straight from the airport to a school event, no matter how much Tommy and he himself wishes she would. An hour into the event, as Tommy's hopeful glances toward the door become increasingly disappointed, Marcus feels a familiar knot of grief and guilt. He wants to shield his son from any more loss, any more disappointment. Perhaps getting so attached to Alexandra was a mistake. Perhaps, "Excuse me, coming through." The familiar voice cuts through the crowd noise, and Marcus turns to see Alexandra navigating her wheelchair through the packed gymnasium, still wearing her interview suit, a small travel bag perched on her lap. Her hair is slightly disheveled, her expression harried but determined. Tommy spots her at the same moment, and his entire face lights up. "Alexandra, you came." "Of course I came," she says, reaching their display slightly breathless. "I wouldn't miss your first science fair for anything. My flight was delayed, and traffic from the airport was terrible, but I made it." She examines Tommy's project with genuine interest, asking thoughtful questions about his methodology and findings. Tommy responds with enthusiasm, all his earlier disappointment forgotten in the joy of sharing his work with her. Marcus watches them together, a lump forming in his throat. Alexandra could have gone straight home after a grueling interview and cross-country flight. No one would have blamed her for being too tired. Instead, she came directly from the airport, still dragging her luggage, because she knew how much this meant to Tommy. In that moment, seeing her disheveled but radiant, focused entirely on making his son feel valued and important, Marcus knows with absolute certainty that he wants to spend the rest of his life with this woman. After the science fair, they walk slowly through the school parking lot, Tommy skipping ahead with his participation ribbon, Alexandra and Marcus following at a more measured pace. "So," Marcus says quietly, "how was the interview?" Alexandra takes a deep breath. "They offered me the job, Director of Diversity and Inclusion." Marcus stops, turning to face her fully. "Alexandra, that's incredible. Congratulations." "Thank you," she says, her expression a mixture of pride and uncertainty. "I accepted, but with a condition. I'll be working remotely most of the time, going to Denver 1 week each month for in-person meetings." Marcus stares at her, processing this information. "You negotiated a remote position? But this was your dream job." "It still is," Alexandra confirms, "but my dreams have expanded to include more than just professional success." She reaches for his hand. "They include you and Tommy now." Marcus feels a wave of emotions, gratitude, love, and a touch of concern. "Are you sure? I don't want you to compromise your career for us." "I'm not compromising," Alexandra insists. "I'm prioritizing. My work is important to me, but so is this, what we're building together. I want both." Tommy runs back to them, his science project clutched carefully in his hands. "Can Alexandra come over for dinner? I want to show her my new space book." Marcus and Alexandra exchange a look filled with understanding and shared affection. "Actually," Alexandra says, "I was thinking maybe we could all go out to celebrate. I got a new job, and your dad passed his GED with flying colors." Tommy's eyes widen. "Really, Dad? You passed your test?" "I did, buddy," Marcus confirms, ruffling his son's hair. "And I got accepted to community college." "This is the best day ever," Tommy declares, doing a little dance of excitement. "We're all getting smart together." As they walk to the car, Tommy between them holding both their hands, Alexandra and Marcus share a look over his head, a look that acknowledges the challenges ahead, but also affirms their commitment to facing them together, to building something lasting from the unexpected connection that began on a graduation day when a lonely young woman was seen by a compassionate boy and his father. "You know," Alexandra says softly as Tommy climbs into the car, "my father said something surprising before I left for Denver. He told me that he regretted prioritizing work over relationships his entire life." "Nathan Sinclair said that?" Marcus asks, skeptical. "I know, I could hardly believe it either," Alexandra admits, "but I think he's finally starting to understand what really matters. And so am I." As they drive away from the school, the three of them talking animatedly about their respective achievements, Alexandra feels a sense of certainty settle over her. The path forward won't be simple. Balancing her new job with this evolving relationship will require effort and compromise from everyone involved. But for the first time in her life, she feels complete, not despite the challenges, but because she's found people worth overcoming them with. The Colorado job isn't just a professional opportunity. It's a chance to prove that success doesn't have to come at the expense of personal happiness, that with the right people beside you, it's possible to bridge any distance, to have both a meaningful career and a loving family. It's a lesson her father learned too late, but one that Alexandra is determined to embrace fully, starting now. 1 month into Alexandra's new job arrangement, the reality of balancing long-distance work with a relationship proves more challenging than anticipated. Her week in Colorado is intensely productive but exhausting, filled with back-to-back meetings and networking events that often run late into the evening. The other 3 weeks, she works remotely from her apartment in the city, coordinating with team members across time zones and struggling to establish boundaries between work and personal life. Marcus, meanwhile, has started his community college classes while maintaining his full-time position at the factory. Between work, school, and parenting, his days are stretched to the breaking point. Though they live in the same city, finding quality time together becomes increasingly difficult, with both of them often too tired for anything beyond brief phone calls or texts. Tonight, Alexandra sits in her apartment, staring at her laptop screen as the weekly team meeting in Colorado wraps up via video conference. It's already 8 p.m., and she hasn't seen Marcus or Tommy in 3 days, despite being back from her Denver trip. Alexandra, did you have anything to add to the implementation timeline? Her supervisor asks, noticing her distraction. Alexandra refocuses quickly. Yes, actually. I think we need to build in more time for feedback from employee resource groups before finalizing the policy. Based on my experience at Sinclair, these consultations take longer than expected, but yield crucial insights. Her supervisor nods appreciatively. Good point. Let's adjust the schedule. An excellent work on the healthcare benefits expansion proposal. The board was impressed. After the meeting ends, Alexandra closes her laptop with a sigh. Professional recognition is gratifying, but tonight it feels hollow compared to the growing emptiness in her personal life. She picks up her phone and texts Marcus. Meeting finally over. How are you and Tommy? Miss you both. The response comes quickly. Miss you too. Tommy's at a friend's for dinner. I'm drowning in calculus homework. Rain check on our call tonight? Disappointment settles in her chest, but Alexandra understands. Of course, good luck with calculus. Call tomorrow? Definitely, love you. Love you too. Alexandra wheels herself to the window of her apartment, looking out at the city lights. Her accessibility-modified apartment, once her sanctuary, now feels sterile and empty compared to the warm chaos of Marcus and Tommy's home. She's achieved the career advancement she wanted, but the cost is higher than she expected. The next day, Alexandra decides to surprise Marcus and Tommy with dinner. She orders from their favorite Italian restaurant and heads to their apartment, timing her arrival for when Marcus should be home from work and before he needs to leave for his evening class. When she arrives, however, only Tommy and his babysitter, Mrs. Gonzalez from next door, are there. Alexandra, Tommy exclaims, throwing himself into a hug. I haven't seen you in forever. It's only been a week, buddy, she laughs, returning his embrace. But I've missed you too. Where's your dad? Tommy's face falls slightly. He had to go to work early today. There's a big order or something. Ma, Mrs. Gonzalez fills in the details. Marcus called this morning. They're on deadline for a manufacturing project, and he's working a double shift. He probably won't be home until late tonight. Alexandra hides her disappointment behind a smile. Well then, more pasta for us, right, Tommy? After dinner, Alexandra helps Tommy with his homework, then reads with him until bedtime. Being with him soothes some of the loneliness she's been feeling, but also highlights how much she's been missing. Tommy chatters about school events, friends, and projects, a week's worth of life experiences she wasn't present for. Alexandra, Tommy says sleepily as she tucks him in, are you going to move to Colorado forever? The question catches her off guard. No, of course not. I just visit there for work sometimes. But what if they want you to stay there? Jason's mom got a new job, and they had to move away. He doesn't see his dad very much anymore. Alexandra strokes his hair gently. That's not going to happen with us. I made sure my job lets me stay here most of the time. Promise? Tommy asks, his voice small and vulnerable. I promise, Alexandra says firmly, though a flicker of uncertainty passes through her mind. Her trial period for remote work ends in 2 months, and while her performance has been excellent, there have been hints that the company would prefer her on-site more frequently. After Tommy falls asleep, Alexandra waits for Marcus, hoping to at least see him briefly before she needs to leave. Around 10 p.m., her phone rings. It's Marcus. Hey, he says, his voice tired. Mrs. Gonzalez texted that you're at the apartment. I brought dinner for you guys. Tommy and I already ate, but I saved you some. That's really thoughtful, Marcus says warmly, but I'm still at work. We're looking at another 3 hours at least. Alexandra's heart sinks. Oh, I was hoping to see you. I know, I'm sorry. This project has been a nightmare. And then there's a calculus test tomorrow I haven't even studied for. The stress in his voice is palpable. Don't worry about it, Alexandra says quickly. I understand. We'll catch up another time. After hanging up, Alexandra sits in the quiet apartment, surrounded by evidence of the family life she's increasingly missing. Tommy's artwork on the refrigerator, Marcus's textbooks on the table, the family photos on the walls that now include several with her in them. She belongs here, with them, yet her career keeps pulling her in another direction. 2 days later, Alexandra is in her office at Sinclair Consulting. She still maintains a part-time advisory role there when her father unexpectedly appears at her door. Do you have a minute? Nathan asks, unusually hesitant. Alexandra gestures to the chair opposite her desk. Of course. Nathan sits, looking uncharacteristically uncomfortable. I wanted to check in on how your new position is going. The remote arrangement is working out? Mostly, Alexandra says cautiously, surprised by his interest. The work itself is fantastic, challenging, meaningful, exactly what I wanted professionally. But, Nathan prompts, hearing the qualification in her tone. Alexandra hesitates, then decides on honesty. But balancing it with my personal side is harder than I expected. Marcus is swamped with work and school. Tommy misses me, and I feel like I'm not fully present anywhere. Not in Colorado, not here with them. Nathan nods thoughtfully. I understand that conflict better than you might think. You do? Your mother used to say I lived on airplanes more than at home, Nathan admits. I was building the company, traveling constantly for clients. By the time I realized what it was costing me personally, she'd already filed for divorce. The rare mention of her mother catches Alexandra off guard. Her parents separated when she was 12, and her father rarely speaks of it. I didn't know that was why she left, Alexandra says quietly. She didn't leave because I traveled, Nathan clarifies. She left because when I was physically present, I was still mentally at work. I missed your piano recitals even when I was sitting in the audience because I was checking emails on my phone. Alexandra absorbs this new perspective on her childhood. Why are you telling me this now? Nathan meets her eyes directly. Because I see you trying to balance everything, and I recognize the struggle. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did. Before Alexandra can respond, her phone rings with Marcus's ringtone. She glances at her father apologetically. Take it, Nathan says, standing. We can talk more later. Alexandra answers as her father leaves the office. Marcus, is everything okay? Not really, Marcus says, his voice tight with stress. Tommy's school just called. He got into a fight with another kid who said we weren't a real family because you're not his mom and you're always gone anyway. Alexandra's heart drops. Is he hurt? Just a few scratches, but he's upset and they want one of us to pick him up. I can't leave work right now. We're in the middle of inspection for this project, and if I leave, it affects everyone's overtime. I'll go, Alexandra says immediately. I can be there in 20 minutes. At the elementary school, Alexandra finds Tommy sitting outside the principal's office, his expression a mixture of defiance and distress. His left cheek has a small scratch, and his normally neat clothes are rumpled. Hey, buddy, she says gently, wheeling up to him. Tommy looks up, surprise replacing the scowl on his face. Alexandra, where's Dad? He's at work, so I came instead. Want to tell me what happened? Tommy's lower lip trembles slightly. Kevin said we're not a real family because you're not my mom and you don't even live with us. He said you're going to leave like Jason's mom did. So I pushed him. Alexandra takes a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. I understand why that made you angry, but pushing people isn't how we handle those feelings. But he was wrong, Tommy insists. We are a family, right? Of course we are, Alexandra confirms, taking his small hand in hers. Families come in all different shapes and arrangements. Ours might be a little unconventional, but that doesn't make it any less real. After meeting with the principal and sorting out the situation, Alexandra takes Tommy back to her apartment for the afternoon. She cancels her remaining meetings, deciding that Tommy needs her undivided attention. They make cookies together, with Alexandra guiding Tommy through measuring ingredients and mixing the dough. The activity calms him, and gradually he returns to his usual talkative self. Could we live together someday? Tommy asked suddenly, pressing a cookie cutter into the dough. Like all of us in one house? Alexandra pauses, considering how to answer. Would you like that? Tommy nods emphatically. Yeah, then you wouldn't have to keep coming and going, and Dad wouldn't be so tired all the time. Your dad is tired? Uh-huh. He stays up really late doing homework and after I go to bed. Sometimes I find him sleeping at the kitchen table in the morning. Alexandra frowns, concerned. Marcus hasn't mentioned how exhausted he is, always insisting he's managing fine when she asks. And he looks sad when you have to go to Colorado, Tommy continues, oblivious to the impact of his words. He tries to smile, but it's his fake smile, not his real one. That evening, after Marcus picks up Tommy, Alexandra can't stop thinking about the situation. The career opportunity in Colorado is everything she wanted professionally, but the cost to her personal life, to this family they're trying to build, is becoming clearer each day. The following weekend, Alexandra attends Family Day at Tommy's school as promised. The event is held in the gymnasium, with various activity stations where families can participate together. Alexandra notices the curious glances from other parents as she, Marcus, and Tommy move from station to station, clearly wondering about their unconventional family structure. At the art table, families are creating collages representing their households. Tommy enthusiastically includes photos of himself, Marcus, and Alexandra, as well as a picture of Clara that Marcus keeps on their bookshelf. Is this your family? The teacher asks kindly, looking at Tommy's creation. Yep, Tommy says proudly. That's my Dee. That's Alexandra. She's Dad's girlfriend and my friend too, and that's my mom in heaven. The teacher smiles. It's a lovely family. As they continue through the activities, Alexandra becomes increasingly aware of how naturally they function as a unit. Marcus instinctively adapts activities to include her despite her wheelchair, and Tommy moves seamlessly between them both for guidance and affection. They've developed their own rhythm, their own inside jokes, their own traditions. During a break in the activities, Alexandra watches Marcus helping Tommy with a science experiment, their heads bent together in concentration. The love between them is palpable, and Alexandra feels a wave of certainty wash over her. This is where she belongs, not just with Marcus, not just with Tommy, but with both of them, building a life together. The realization brings both clarity and complication. Her next trip to Colorado is scheduled for the following week, and the company has hinted they want to discuss her remote arrangement. The trial period is coming to an end, and decisions must be made. That night, after Tommy goes to bed, Alexandra and Marcus sit on the balcony of his apartment, the spring air warm around them. Alexandra has been uncharacteristically quiet since they returned from the school event. Penny for your thoughts? Marcus asks, reaching for her hand. Alexandra turns to face him directly. I've been thinking about us, about Tommy, about my job in Colorado. Marcus tenses slightly. What about it? The trial period for my remote arrangement is ending soon. They've scheduled a meeting to discuss it when I'm there next week. And you're worried they'll want you there more permanently, Marcus concludes. Alexandra nods. The director who hired me is leaving. His replacement might not be as flexible about remote work. Marcus is quiet for a moment, processing this information. What are you thinking? I'm thinking that no job, no matter how perfect on paper, is worth losing what we're building here, Alexandra says slowly. I look at you and Tommy, and I see my future, my home. Marcus squeezes her hand. I would never ask you to give up your career for us. You're not asking, I'm choosing, Alexandra says firmly. But there's something else we need to discuss. What's that? Tommy asked me if we could all live together, and honestly, I've been thinking the same thing. This back and forth is exhausting for everyone. Marcus looks surprised, but not opposed to the idea. You want to move in together? I think it makes sense, Alexandra says. We're practically living together already, just split between two apartments. It would be easier for all of us, but only if you and Tommy are ready for that step. Marcus considers the proposal thoughtfully. My lease is up in 2 months anyway. We could look for a place that works better for all of us. Something with better accessibility for you, maybe in a better school district for Tommy. You'd be okay with that? Alexandra asks, slightly surprised by his ready agreement. More than okay, Marcus confirms with a smile. I've been wanting to ask you the same thing, but I was worried it might be too soon or that you'd feel pressured. Alexandra laughed softly. Look at us, both wanting the same thing and both afraid to say it. So we're doing this? Looking for a place together? We're doing this, Alexandra confirms, a weight lifting from her shoulders. The decision feels right, natural, the next logical step in their evolving relationship. The following Tuesday, Alexandra boards her flight to Colorado with mixed emotions. She's excited about the prospect of moving in with Marcus and Tommy, of formalizing their family unit, but apprehensive about the upcoming conversation regarding her work arrangement. The week in Denver is busier than usual, with the transition between directors creating additional meetings and responsibilities. Alexandra performs excellently as always, but her heart isn't fully engaged. Each evening, she video calls with Marcus and Tommy, and the contrast between her sterile hotel room and their warm interactions only reinforces her certainty about her priorities. On Thursday afternoon, she sits in the new director's office for the scheduled discussion about her remote work arrangement. Jeffrey Barnes is in his 50s, with a reputation for traditional management approaches and a preference for in-person collaboration. Alexandra, as he begins after pleasantries are exchanged, I've been reviewing your work since you joined us. The quality is exceptional, particularly your healthcare benefits expansion proposal and the supplier diversity initiative. Thank you, Alexandra responds, already sensing the but that's coming. However, Barnes continues predictably, I have concerns about the remote arrangement. For a director-level position, face-to-face leadership is crucial. The team needs consistent in-person guidance. Alexandra nods, having anticipated this perspective. I understand that concern, but I'd like to point out that during my trial period, my team has exceeded all performance metrics. Our employee engagement scores are the highest in the company, and we've implemented 2 major initiatives ahead of schedule. All true, Barnes acknowledges, but imagine what more could be accomplished with your full-time presence here. Or consider what might be lost, Alexandra counters. Remote work has allowed me to bring perspectives from outside the Colorado business ecosystem. It's given our team flexibility that models the very inclusive practices we're advocating for across the company. Barnes studies her for a moment. Let me be direct, Alexandra. I'm prepared to offer you a significant compensation increase if you'll relocate permanently to Denver. 20% above your current salary bien, plus relocation assistance and housing allowance for the first year. The offer is generous, more than generous. It would secure Alexandra's financial future and cement her professional reputation in the industry. 5 months ago, she would have accepted without hesitation. I appreciate the offer, she says carefully, but my life isn't just about professional advancement anymore. I have family commitments that keep me rooted in my current location. Family? Barnes repeats, clearly surprised. Her personnel file must list her as single without dependents. My partner and his son, Alexandra explains, we're building a life together, and that's not something I'm willing to sacrifice, even for a dream position. Barnes leans back in his chair, reassessing the situation. I see. Well, that complicates matters. Not necessarily, Alexandra says, shifting to problem-solving mode. I believe we can find a solution that works for everyone. I've prepared some options based on my performance during the trial period. She presents a detailed proposal, continuing the current arrangement of 1 week per month in Denver, supplemented with quarterly extended stays for strategic planning sessions. She outlines how technology can bridge the distance gap, suggests structural changes to the team to ensure consistent leadership in her absence, and presents data on the productivity of remote versus in-person work models. Barnes listens attentively, his expression thoughtful. You've clearly put considerable thought into this. Because both my career and my personal life matter to me, Alexandra says simply. I believe we can honor both without compromise. By the end of the meeting, Barnes agrees to consider her proposal, promising a decision before her departure on Saturday. Alexandra leaves his office feeling cautiously optimistic but prepared for either outcome. She's made her priorities clear, both to Barnes and to herself. That evening, during her video call with Marcus and Tommy, she doesn't mention the meeting, not wanting to worry them until she has a definitive answer. Instead, she listens as Tommy excitedly describes the house hunting websites he's been exploring with Marcus. There's one with a ramp already built in, Tommy exclaims, and a big backyard for a dog. Can we get a boy, Alexandra? Alexandra laughs, touched by his assumption that she'll have input on such decisions. That's something we'd all need to discuss together. Marcus smiles at his son's enthusiasm but gives Alexandra a more searching look. Everything okay there? You seem distracted. Just tired, Alexandra deflects. How's the calculus coming along? Brutal, Marcus admits, but I passed the test, barely. They chat for a while longer before Tommy's bedtime. After the boy says goodnight and runs off to brush his teeth, Marcus returns to the screen alone. Seriously, Alexandra, what's going on? I can tell something's on your mind. Alexandra sighs, unable to hide her concerns from him even across the distance. They want me to relocate permanently to Denver. They've offered a significant raise and relocation package. Marcus's expression remains carefully neutral. That's a huge opportunity. It is, Alexandra agrees, but I've made it clear that my life is with you and Tommy now. I've proposed continuing the current arrangement with some adjustments. And if they say no, Alexandra doesn't hesitate. Then I'll find another position closer to home. There are other companies, other opportunities, but there's only one you, only one Tommy. Marcus's expression softens with emotion. I don't want to be the reason you give up a dream job. You're not, Alexandra assures him. You're the reason I've realized what actually matters to me. This job seemed like my dream because it offered professional validation, recognition of my abilities beyond my disability. But I've already achieved that. What I want now is a life with meaning beyond work, a life with you and Tommy. The next morning, Alexandra receives an email from Barnes requesting another meeting that afternoon. She spends the day focusing on her regular responsibilities, trying not to speculate about his decision. When she enters his office at 3 p.m., Barnes gestures for her to take a seat, his expression unreadable. I've given your proposal serious consideration, he begins. It's unconventional, but so is our diversity initiative itself. After consulting with HR and reviewing your performance metrics, I've decided to approve a modified version of your arrangement. Relief washes over Alexandra. Thank you. What modifications are you suggesting? 2 weeks per month here initially, transitioning to your proposed 1 week per month after you've built a stronger foundation with the team. Additionally, I'd like you to train a deputy director who can provide consistent in-person leadership when you're working remotely. It's more time away from Marcus and Tommy than she'd hoped, but still workable. I can agree to those terms with one condition of my own. Barnes raises an eyebrow. Which is? The 2-week arrangement lasts no more than 3 months. After that, we assess the team's performance and adjust accordingly. After a moment's consideration, Barnes nods. That seems reasonable. We'll draw up the formal agreement next week. As Alexandra leaves the office, her phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Urgent. Call when you can. Her heart racing, Alexandra finds a quiet corner in the hallway and calls immediately. Marcus? What's wrong? Tommy's school just called, Marcus says, his voice tight with worry. He collapsed during recess. They've taken him to Memorial Children's Hospital. The doctor thinks it might be pneumonia again. Alexandra's blood runs cold. Tommy's previous bout with pneumonia had been frightening enough, and recurrent cases can be more serious. I'm coming home. I'll be on the next flight. You don't have to. I'm coming, Alexandra interrupts firmly. Text me the hospital details. I'll be there as soon as I can. She heads straight to Barnes's office, knocking briefly before entering without waiting for a response. I apologize for the interruption, but I have a family emergency. My partner's son has been hospitalized. I need to return home immediately. Barnes looks surprised but nods understanding. Of course, is there anything we can do to help? Just finalize our agreement while I'm gone, Alexandra says, already backing toward the door. I'll work remotely next week and keep you updated on when I can return. Within an hour, Alexandra has packed her hotel room, arranged for a colleague to cover her remaining meetings, and secured a seat on the next flight home. As the plane takes off, she stares out the window at the receding Rocky Mountains, her thoughts entirely focused on Tommy and Marcus, on getting back to the people who have become her family. The flight feels interminable, each minute stretching as Alexandra imagines what might be happening at the hospital. When the plane finally lands, she rushes through the terminal as quickly as her wheelchair allows, bypassing baggage claim and heading straight for a taxi. At Memorial Children's Hospital, Alexandra finds Marcus in the pediatric ward waiting area, his face haggard with worry. He stands when he sees her, relief washing over his features. You didn't have to fly back, he says as she wheels up to him, but his eyes say otherwise. Of course I did, Alexandra replies, reaching for his hand. How is he? Definitely pneumonia again, Marcus confirms grimly. The doctor says it's concerning that it's returned so quickly after the last episode. They're running more tests to see if there's an underlying issue. Can I see him? Marcus leads her to Tommy's room where the boy lies small and pale against the white hospital sheets, an oxygen cannula in his nose and an IV in his arm. He's sleeping, his breathing slightly labored despite the supplemental oxygen. Alexandra wheels to his bedside and gently takes his small hand, careful not to disturb the IV. "Oh, Tommy," she whispers. A doctor enters, introducing herself as Dr. Patel. She explains that Tommy's pneumonia is indeed concerning in its recurrence and severity. We're testing for several possibilities: immune deficiencies, anatomical issues in the lungs, environmental factors. For now, we're treating with stronger antibiotics and monitoring him closely. What can we do? Marcus asks, the strain evident in his voice. Be here for him, Dr. Patel says simply. Keep him calm and comfortable. The antibiotics need time to work. After the doctor leaves, Marcus and Alexandra settle in for the wait. Hours pass as they take turns sitting with Tommy, who drifts in and out of sleep. When he's awake, he's weak but happy to see Alexandra, clutching her hand as if afraid she might disappear. You came back from Colorado, he says during one lucid moment, his voice hoarse. Of course I did, Alexandra tells him. Nothing could keep me away. Tommy smiles weakly. Told Kevin we're a real family. Tears spring to Alexandra's eyes. We absolutely are, buddy. That night, the hospital staff brings in a cot for one parent to stay overnight. Marcus insists Alexandra go home to rest, but she refuses to leave. We're in this together, she says firmly. I'll sleep in my chair. The night is long and uncomfortable. Tommy's fever spikes around 2 a.m., bringing nurses rushing in to administer medication and cooling measures. Alexandra and Marcus wait anxiously outside the room until they are allowed back in, both too worried to even think of sleep. By morning, Tommy's fever has broken, but he remains weak and tired. Dr. Patel returns with preliminary test results. Tommy has a mild immune deficiency that makes him more susceptible to respiratory infections. It's manageable with proper care, she explains. Regular immunoglobulin treatments can help boost his immune system, and we'll need to be vigilant about early signs of infection. Marcus absorbs this information with a stunned expression. So this will be a long-term issue? Something he'll always have to deal with? Most likely, yes, Dr. Patel confirms gently. But many children with this condition lead normal, active lives with proper management. We'll connect you with a specialist who can develop a comprehensive care plan. After the doctor leaves, Marcus steps into the hallway, clearly needing a moment alone. Alexandra stays with Tommy, who has fallen asleep again, his breathing slightly easier than the night before. When Marcus returns, his eyes are red-rimmed. I don't know how I'm going to manage this, he admits in a low voice. The treatments, the specialist appointments, the monitoring, all while working full-time and going to school. Not alone, Alexandra says immediately. We'll manage it together. Marcus looks at her, conflict evident in his expression. Alexandra, I can't ask that of you. You have your career, your new position. Stop, Alexandra interrupts gently. We're a family now, remember? Your challenges are my challenges. Tommy's health is as important to me as it is to you. But your job in Colorado is just a job, Alexandra finishes. An important one, yes, but not more important than this. I've already negotiated a remote arrangement. If I need to adjust it further, I will. Marcus sinks into the chair beside her, emotional exhaustion evident in every line of his body. I'm scared, he admits quietly. What if I can't give him everything he needs? Alexandra takes his hand firmly in hers. You won't have to do it alone. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Over the next 3 days, Tommy's condition improves steadily. The stronger antibiotics work effectively, and by the 4th day, Dr. Patel is ready to discuss discharge plans. She provides detailed instructions for home care and follow-up appointments with the immunology specialist. The first immunoglobulin treatment will be administered before discharge, she explains. After that, he'll need monthly treatments, either here at the hospital or eventually at home with proper training. As they prepare for Tommy's discharge, Alexandra makes several phone calls to her colleagues in Colorado, explaining the situation and renegotiating her return date. Barnes is surprisingly understanding, agreeing to extend her remote work period while Tommy recovers. The day Tommy comes home, Alexandra has already arranged for a professional cleaning service to thoroughly sanitize Marcus's apartment, reducing potential triggers for respiratory issues. She's researched immune deficiency extensively, ordered an air purifier for Tommy's room, and contacted several specialists for second opinions. "You've thought of everything," Marcus says, watching as she organizes Tommy's medications on the kitchen counter. "Not everything," Alexandra admits, "but I'm learning as quickly as I can. We both are." That evening, with Tommy settled comfortably on the couch watching a movie, Marcus and Alexandra sit at the kitchen table, cups of tea growing cold between them as they discuss the future. "I've been thinking," Marcus says slowly, "about our plan to move in together." Alexandra tenses, wondering if he's reconsidering in light of Tommy's diagnosis. "Yes? I think we should accelerate it," Marcus continues, surprising her. "Not just for convenience anymore, but because Tommy needs stability and consistent care. Moving once to a place that works for all of us long-term makes more sense than trying to manage his condition between two households." Relief washes over Alexandra. "I agree completely, and I think we should look for something specifically suited to his health needs. Good air quality, minimal carpeting, easy to keep clean, and fully accessible for you," Marcus adds. No compromises there. They spend the rest of the evening researching housing options online, creating a list of requirements and possibilities. The process feels significant, not just finding a shared living space, but creating a home designed around their family's specific needs. The next morning, Alexandra receives an unexpected visitor. Her father, Nathan, arrives at Marcus's apartment with several bags of groceries and a determined expression. "Dad?" Alexandra says, surprised to find him at the door. "What are you doing here?" "Tommy's coming home from the hospital today, isn't he?" Nathan says matter-of-factly. "I thought you could use some supplies." Alexandra wheels back to let him enter, still confused by his appearance. "How did you even know where to find me?" "Your assistant mentioned you were staying at Marcus's place while Tommy recovers," Nathan explains, setting the grocery bags on the kitchen counter. "I took the liberty of researching immune deficiency after you explained the situation. These are all foods recommended for immune support. Plenty of vegetables, lean proteins, whole grains." Marcus emerges from Tommy's room where he's been helping the boy get dressed. He stops short at the sight of Nathan Sinclair in his kitchen, unpacking groceries as if it's the most natural thing in the world. "Mr. Sinclair," he says, clearly surprised. "This is unexpected." Nathan straightens, extending his hand. "Please call me Nathan, and I apologize for arriving unannounced. I wanted to help in some practical way." Marcus shakes his hand, exchanging a bewildered look with Alexandra. "That's very thoughtful. Thank you." Tommy's excited voice comes from the hallway. "Is Alexandra back? I heard voices." He appears a moment later, still in pajamas, his face lighting up at the sight of Alexandra. Then he notices Nathan and grows suddenly shy. "Tommy, this is my father, Nathan Sinclair," Alexandra introduces. "Dad, this is Tommy." Nathan kneels down, bringing himself to Tommy's eye level despite the formality of his business suit. "It's a pleasure to meet you, Tommy. I've heard you are quite the brave young man." Tommy studies him curiously. "You're Alexandra's dad, the one who runs the big company?" "That's right," Nathan confirms with a small smile. "You look like her," Tommy decides. "Same eyes." Nathan seems touched by this observation. "So I've been told. I brought some groceries to help you get strong again." "Do you like blueberries? They're excellent for immune health." "I love blueberries," Tommy exclaims, his shyness forgotten. As Nathan shows Tommy the various foods he's brought, explaining the immune benefits of each in terms the 8-year-old can understand, Alexandra and Marcus watch in amazement. This is a side of Nathan Sinclair neither has seen before. Patient, engaged, almost grandfatherly. Later, after Tommy returns to the couch to rest, Nathan pulls Alexandra aside. "I've taken the liberty of researching the top immunologists in the country. There's a specialist at Johns Hopkins who's doing groundbreaking work with pediatric immune deficiencies. I've arranged for a consultation if you and Marcus are interested." Alexandra stares at her father, momentarily speechless. "Dad, that's Incredibly thoughtful, but we can't afford— I know, Nathan interrupts gently. That's why I've already taken care of it. Consider it a gift for my future grandson. Future grandson? Alexandra repeats, startled by the phrasing. Nathan glances toward Marcus, who is helping Tommy set up a board game on the coffee table. Unless I'm misreading the situation, I believe you and Marcus are building something permanent here. And I'd like to be part of it, if you'll let me. Tears spring to Alexandra's eyes. After years of emotional distance, her father is making a genuine effort to connect not just with her, but with the family she's chosen. I'd like that too, Dad. That evening, after Nathan leaves and Tommy goes to bed, Alexandra and Marcus sit on the balcony, processing the day's events. So that was Nathan Sinclair, Marcus says, still sounding slightly stunned. Not exactly what I expected. He surprised me too, Alexandra admits. I've never seen him like that. So involved, so grandfatherly. People can change, Marcus observes, or maybe they just need the right motivation to show different sides of themselves. Alexandra leans her head against his shoulder, feeling a profound sense of contentment despite the challenges they're facing. I think Tommy might be that motivation for my father. He has a way of bringing out the best in people. Like mother, like son, Marcus says softly, kissing the top of her head. Alexandra looks up at him, surprised. What do you mean? Tommy has Clara's heart, her openness, her ability to see the good in people. But he gets his perceptiveness from me, Marcus explains. And I've noticed how you look at him the same way she would have, with that perfect balance of protection and encouragement. Tears fill Alexandra's eyes at the comparison. That's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever said to me. Marcus takes her hand, his expression suddenly serious. I've been thinking a lot these past few days about Tommy's health, about our plans to move in together, about what really matters in life. Alexander nods, sensing there's more he wants to say. When Tommy was in the hospital, and you flew back immediately without hesitation, I realized something, Marcus continues. You're already his parent in all the ways that truly matter, and you're already my partner in all the ways that count. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. This was my grandmother's. It's not fancy or expensive, but it's been in my family for generations. Alexander's breath catches as he opens the box to reveal a simple gold band with a modest diamond. Marcus, I'm not asking because of Tommy's illness or because it's practical for us to live together, Marcus clarifies. I'm asking because I love you, Alexandra Sinclair. Because you've shown me that life can be full of joy and possibility even after loss. Because I want to build a future with you, face whatever challenges come our way together. He takes the ring from the box, holding it up in the moonlight. Will you marry me? Will you officially become the family we already are in our hearts? Alexandra doesn't hesitate. Yes, she whispers, tears streaming down her face. Yes to all of it. Marcus slips the ring onto her finger, then leans down to kiss her deeply. When they part, both are smiling through tears. Should we tell Tommy in the morning? Alexandra asks. Marcus laughs softly. If we don't, he'll notice the ring in about 3 seconds flat. Nothing gets past that kid. He's going to be thrilled, Alexandra predicts, looking down at the ring on her finger with wonder. It's not large or flashy like the jewelry her father used to buy her mother, but it carries something more valuable. History, continuity, belonging. So will he, Marcus says, nodding toward the apartment door where Nathan had stood earlier. Your father, he practically gave me his blessing today, in his own roundabout way. Really? What did he say? After you were helping Tommy with his medication, he pulled me aside and said, she looks at you the way her mother used to look at me, before I forgot what mattered. Don't make my mistakes. Alexandra is stunned. He actually said that? He did. And then he added, I may not have been the father Alexandra deserved, but I intend to be the grandfather Tommy needs. Fresh tears spring to Alexandra's eyes. I never thought I'd hear him talk like that. People can surprise you, Marcus says, echoing his earlier sentiment, especially when love is involved. While they sit together on the balcony until late in the night, talking about their future, the house they'll find together, the treatments for Tommy's condition, the wedding they'll plan. The challenges ahead are significant, but for the first time, both feel equipped to face them together. not as individuals struggling separately, but as a family united by choice and commitment. As they finally head inside, Alexandra pauses at Tommy's doorway, watching him sleep peacefully. The monitor tracking his oxygen levels beeps softly, a reminder of his fragility, but also of their vigilance, their determination to give him the best possible care in life. "We're going to be okay, aren't we?" She whispers to Marcus. He wraps his arm around her shoulders, his gaze joining hers on the sleeping child who brought them together with a simple question on graduation day. "More than okay," he assures her. "We're going to be extraordinary." 6 months later, Alexandra and Marcus stand in the empty living room of a single-story house in a quiet neighborhood 20 minutes from downtown. Sunlight streams through large windows, illuminating hardwood floors and freshly painted walls. The house isn't large, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, an open-concept kitchen and living area, but it's been extensively renovated to be both wheelchair accessible and optimal for Tommy's health. "What do you think?" the real estate agent asks, watching their expressions hopefully. "All the modifications you requested have been completed. Widened doorways, ramps at both entrances, roll-under sinks, lever handles instead of knobs. The HVAC system has been upgraded with hospital-grade filters, and the floors are all hardwood or tile for easier cleaning and better air quality." Alexandra wheels slowly through the space, testing the turning radius in each doorway, checking the height of countertops and light switches. "It's perfect," she says finally, looking up at Marcus, "completely accessible without feeling institutional." Marcus nods in agreement, mentally cataloging the features that will make life easier for both Alexandra and Tommy. "And it's in the school district we wanted for Tommy. The specialist's office is just 10 minutes away." They signed the paperwork that afternoon, using the down payment they have saved together over the past 6 months. Alexandra's salary from her Colorado position, combined with Marcus's recent promotion at the factory following his completion of several technical certification courses, makes the mortgage manageable. It's a stretch financially, but a worthwhile investment in their future. Nathan has offered to help, but Alexandra and Marcus have accepted only his contribution to a special medical trust for Tommy's ongoing treatments, an arrangement that preserves their independence while ensuring Tommy's health needs will always be covered. Moving day arrives on a crisp autumn morning. Friends from Marcus's work and Alexandra's colleagues from Sinclair Consulting form an efficient team, carrying boxes and furniture under Tommy's enthusiastic direction. He's recovered well from his pneumonia episode and has been stable on his monthly immunoglobulin treatments, though everyone is careful to ensure he doesn't overexert himself. "This goes in my room," Tommy instructs, as 2 of Marcus's co-workers carry in his desk. "It has to go under the window so I can see the backyard while I do homework." Alexandra watches him with amusement, marveling at how confidently he's adapted to the changes of the past months. The engagement, the house hunting, the medical treatments. Through it all, Tommy has remained resilient and positive, his natural optimism seemingly unshakable. By late afternoon, the essential unpacking is complete. Pizza boxes are scattered across the kitchen counter as the moving team celebrates a job well done. Alexandra finds herself in the master bedroom, arranging her clothes in the closet alongside Marcus's, a simple domestic act that fills her with unexpected joy. "Penny for your thoughts," Marcus says, appearing in the doorway with 2 glasses of iced tea. Alexandra smiles, accepting the drink gratefully. "Just thinking about how right this feels, mixing our lives together, making space for each other." Marcus sits on the edge of the bed, watching as she continues organizing. "Having second thoughts about giving up your apartment?" "Not for a second," Alexandra assures him. "That place never felt like home." "Not really. This does, even with boxes everywhere and the smell of fresh paint." "Because home isn't about the building," Marcus says, echoing a conversation they have had before. "It's about the people." Alexandra wheels over to him, taking his hand. "Speaking of people, have you seen my father lately? He was helping set up Tommy's air purifier, and then he disappeared." Marcus chuckles. "Last I saw, he and Tommy were in the backyard discussing optimal placement for a treehouse. Your father had his suit jacket off and his sleeves rolled up, looking more relaxed than I've ever seen him." The transformation in Nathan over the past months has been remarkable. Following Tommy's hospitalization, he's made consistent efforts to be present in their lives, joining them for Sunday dinners, attending Tommy's school events, even accompanying them to medical appointments when his schedule allows. His relationship with Alexandra has deepened into something neither thought possible, built on new understanding and mutual respect. A treehouse? Alexandra repeats, amused. Tommy's been talking about that since we first saw the property. I didn't realize Dad was taking it seriously. Apparently, he's already consulted with an architect about making it wheelchair accessible, Marcus says with a grin. I think your father has found his calling as a grandfather. Alexandra's heart swells at the thought. Their unconventional family continues to evolve in ways that surprise and delight her. A week after moving in, Alexandra travels to Colorado for her monthly in-person work week. The arrangement with her employer has stabilized, 1 week on-site per month, the rest remote, with a deputy director handling day-to-day operations in her absence. It's not the traditional leadership model, but the results speak for themselves. Under Alexandra's guidance, the Diversity Initiative has become a model program that other companies are seeking to emulate. This trip feels different, though. Before, leaving Marcus and Tommy always brought a sense of anxiety, of missing crucial moments. Now, with their shared home established and wedding plans underway, the separation feels temporary rather than disruptive, a business necessity rather than a life divided. In her Denver hotel room, Alexandra video calls home, smiling as Tommy's face fills the screen, Marcus visible in the background preparing dinner. Alexandra, guess what? We finished setting up my room today, and Dad let me put up all my space posters, even the really big one. That's fantastic, buddy, Alexandra responds, her heart warming at his excitement. Show me? Tommy eagerly carries the tablet around his room, proudly displaying the careful arrangement of furniture and decorations. The space reflects his personality perfectly. Science books and models sharing space with action figures, everything organized for easy cleaning to minimize dust. And look, I have your picture right here by my bed, Tommy says, showing her a framed photo of the three of them at Family Day. So I can say goodnight even when you're in Colorado. Alexandra blinks back tears at this simple demonstration of love. That's perfect, Tommy. I have your picture next to my bed in the hotel too. When Tommy hands the tablet to Marcus and runs off to finish a school project, Alexandra can see the contentment in her fiancé's expression. The house already feels lived in, he reports. Tommy's settling in well, and the neighborhood is great. There's another kid his age 2 doors down who came over to play today. And you, how are your classes going? Marcus has enrolled in an engineering program at the local community college, balancing his studies with his factory job and parenting responsibilities. Challenging but good, he says. The flexible schedule is working well, and having a dedicated study space in the new house makes a huge difference. They talk for nearly an hour, sharing the small details of their days that form the foundation of a shared life. When they finally say goodnight, Alexandra feels connected rather than distant, despite the physical separation. 2 days later, during a meeting with key stakeholders, Alexandra's phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Tommy's teacher called and he's running a slight fever, picking him up early as a precaution. Alexandra's heart races, immediately concerned given Tommy's immune condition. She discreetly texts back. How high? Any other symptoms? 99.8, just tired. Doctor says bring him in if it goes over 100.5 or if he develops respiratory symptoms, keeping him home tomorrow as a precaution. Alexandra contemplates cutting her trip short, but Marcus sends another reassuring message. We've got this. Following the protocol exactly. Call you after doctor's telehealth at 4 o'clock. This is the new normal for them. Vigilant monitoring, quick action at the first sign of illness, constant communication. Tommy's condition requires eternal watchfulness, but they've developed systems and contingency plans that allow them to manage without panic. The telehealth appointment confirms it's likely just a mild virus, not serious enough to warrant hospitalization. Still, Alexandra adjusts her meetings to ensure she can fly home on schedule, and Marcus keeps her updated with regular temperature readings and symptom checks. By the time Alexandra returns home, Tommy's fever has broken, and he's already bouncing back to his usual energetic self. The episode reinforces what they already know. Their family can handle challenges together, even when physically separated. 3 weeks later, Alexandra sits in her office at Sinclair Consulting, reviewing quarterly reports on the diversity initiative she still oversees on a part-time basis. A knock at her door reveals her father, dressed in his usual impeccable suit, but with an uncharacteristically hesitant expression. "Do you have a minute?" Nathan asks, remaining in the doorway until Alexandra waves him in. "Of course, everything okay?" Nathan takes a seat, placing a folder on her desk. "I wanted to discuss something with you before making it official." Alexandra raises an eyebrow, intrigued. "Sounds serious." "I'm planning to step down as CEO next year," Nathan says without preamble. Alexandra stares at him, shocked. "Dad, you're only 56 and the company is more successful than ever." "Precisely. It's a good time for transition while things are stable and strong." Nathan opens the folder, revealing succession planning documents. "I'll move to chairman of the board, maintaining strategic oversight, but stepping back from day-to-day operations." "Why now?" Alexandra asks, studying her father's face for signs of health concerns or other problems. Nathan's expression softens. "Because I've realized there are things more important than running a company. Things I've neglected for too long." He pauses, choosing his words carefully. "Watching you with Marcus and Tommy, seeing how you balance meaningful work with genuine presence in their lives, it's made me reconsider my priorities. I don't want to be the man who built an empire but missed everything that matters." Alexandra is deeply moved by this admission. "Dad, I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Nathan assures her. "I just wanted you to know before the announcement and to ask your opinion on something else." He turns to another page in the folder, plans for a new Sinclair Foundation initiative focused on accessibility and inclusion for people with disabilities and support for families dealing with pediatric chronic illness. "I'd like you to consider heading this," Nathan continues. "Not full-time. I know you have your position in Colorado and your family commitments, but as an advisory role, helping shape the direction and impact." Alexandra studies the proposal, impressed by its scope and thoughtfulness. "This is incredible, Dad. The medical support program for families. This would have made such a difference for Marcus when Tommy was first diagnosed." "That's the idea," Nathan confirms. "Using our resources to fill gaps in the system, to support families like yours through diagnosis, treatment, and adaptation." "Like ours," Alexandra repeats softly, touched by his phrasing. "Yes," Nathan says simply. "My family now includes a factory worker studying engineering and an 8-year-old with an immune deficiency who wants to be an astronaut. Life takes unexpected turns." Alexandra laughs, blinking back tears. "It certainly does." That evening, she shares her father's news with Marcus as they prepare dinner together in their new kitchen. Tommy is at the dining table, working on a science project while occasionally chiming in with observations or questions. "Your father is actually retiring?" Marcus asks, clearly surprised. "I can't imagine him without that company. They seem inseparable." "Semi-retiring," Alexandra clarifies, chopping vegetables with practiced efficiency. "And I think that's the point. He doesn't want to be inseparable from his work anymore. He wants more time for other things." "Like building my treehouse," Tommy pipes up, not looking up from his project. "He said we're starting it next weekend." Marcus and Alexandra exchange amused glances. Nathan has become increasingly involved in Tommy's life, finding in his quasi-grandfather role a joy and purpose that his corporate success never provided. "What do you think about the foundation proposal?" Marcus asks, lowering his voice slightly, though Tommy is now absorbed in his project again. Alexandra considers the question. "I think it's meaningful work that would allow me to help families facing challenges we understand intimately, and the flexible schedule would work well with our life here." "So you're considering it?" "I am," Alexandra confirms. "It would mean scaling back my Colorado position eventually, but I've already started training my deputy director to take on more responsibility." Marcus nods thoughtfully. "It sounds like a natural evolution. Using your business expertise to make a direct impact on issues that matter to us personally. Like you using your engineering studies to improve manufacturing safety," Alexandra points out. Marcus's recent class project, a modified machine guard that reduces injury risk, has been implemented at his factory and is being considered for company-wide adoption. They work in comfortable silence for a few minutes, the rhythms of their shared domestic life now familiar and synchronized. Alexandra marvels at how quickly they have adapted to living together, how naturally their individual routines have merged into a cohesive whole. 2 months until the wedding, Marcus says, glancing at the calendar on the refrigerator where the date is circled in red. Having any second thoughts? Alexandra laughs. About marrying you? Not a single one. About letting my father handle the reception venue? Maybe a few. Nathan has insisted on hosting their wedding reception, overriding their plans for a simple celebration. Though he's respected their desire for a small ceremony, just close friends and family in the garden of their new home, he's secured the grand ballroom of the city's most exclusive hotel for the reception afterward. He's excited, Marcus says diplomatically, and it means a lot to him to do this for you. I know, Alexandra sighs, and it's actually sweet, in a very Nathan Sinclair way. I just hope he remembers we wanted something meaningful, not extravagant. Dad, Tommy calls from the dining room. I need help with this moon phase diagram. Coming, buddy, Marcus responds, washing his hands quickly before joining his son. Alexandra watches them bent over the science project together. Marcus patiently explaining the concept while Tommy absorbs the information with his characteristic intensity. These ordinary moments of connection and learning have become the foundation of their family life, more precious to her than any professional achievement or recognition. The wedding day dawns clear and mild, perfect weather for their garden ceremony. Alexandra wakes early, watching the sunrise from the window of their bedroom, while Marcus sleeps peacefully beside her. They've ignored the tradition of spending the night apart, preferring to begin this significant day as they intend to live their married life together. She slips out of bed and into her wheelchair, moving quietly to avoid waking Marcus. In the kitchen, she finds Tommy already awake, sitting at the counter with a bowl of cereal. Morning, he whispers conspiratorially. I'm being really quiet so Dad can sleep more. That's thoughtful of you, Alexandra whispers back, pouring herself a cup of coffee. Excited about today? Tommy nods enthusiastically. I practiced carrying the rings all week. I won't drop them, I promise. I know you won't, Alexandra assures him. You're going to be perfect. Tommy studies her over his cereal bowl. Are you nervous? Grandpa Nathan says people get nervous on their wedding day. Alexandra smiles at Tommy's casual use of Grandpa Nathan, a development that still sometimes surprises her. A little nervous, but mostly happy. Very, very happy. Because you're already a family, Tommy says with 8-year-old certainty. The wedding just makes it official. Alexandra reaches across the counter to squeeze his hand. Exactly right. The morning passes in a flurry of preparations. Friends arrive to help set up the garden, arranging chairs in a semicircle around the flower-adorned arbor where the ceremony will take place. Alexandra's dress, elegant but practical for her wheelchair, hangs ready in the guest room where she'll change later. Nathan arrives mid-morning, impeccably dressed, but unusually emotional. He finds Alexandra in the kitchen, reviewing final details with the caterer. Everything looks wonderful, he says, looking around at the transformation of the garden visible through the windows. But if you wanted to change venues, even now, I could make a call. Dad, Alexandra interrupts gently, this is exactly what we want. Our home, our garden, with the people who matter most to us. Nathan nods, accepting her decision. I have something for you, he says, reaching into his jacket pocket. Your mother would have wanted you to have this today. He produces a small velvet box. Inside is a delicate pearl bracelet that Alexandra recognizes immediately. Her mother's favorite piece, worn on special occasions throughout Alexandra's childhood. Dad, she whispers, deeply touched. I thought this was lost in the move after the divorce. I kept it, Nathan admits. Not my proudest moment, holding on to it out of spite or hurt. But now it belongs with you. As he fastens the bracelet around her wrist, Alexandra sees tears in her father's eyes, perhaps the first she's ever witnessed. She would have loved Marcus and Tommy, he says quietly. She would have been so proud of the woman you've become, the family you've built. Alexandra embraces her father, this moment of genuine connection healing wounds that have existed between them for decades. By early afternoon, guests have begun to arrive, a small but meaningful gathering of those who have supported their journey. Marcus's co-workers and fellow students, Alexandra's colleagues from both her Colorado position and Sinclair Consulting, Tommy's teachers and medical team, neighbors who have welcomed them warmly to their new community. In the guest room that serves as her preparation space, Alexandra puts the finishing touches on her appearance, assisted by her closest friend from college. Her dress is ivory silk, designed to complement rather than hide her wheelchair, with delicate beading that catches the light as she moves. A knock at the door reveals Tommy, resplendent in his new suit, his hair tamed for the occasion. "Dad sent me to ask if you're ready," he announces importantly. "Everyone's waiting in the garden." "I'm ready," Alexandra confirms, smoothing her dress one last time. "How does Dad look?" "Really handsome," Tommy reports, "and really happy, but also a little scared, I think." Alexandra laughs. "That sounds about right." The ceremony is simple but profound. Alexandra wheels down the garden path that serves as their aisle, escorted by her father. Marcus waits beneath the arbor, his expression a mixture of awe and absolute certainty as he watches her approach. Tommy stands beside him, proudly holding the rings on a small cushion, his posture perfect with the responsibility. Their vows are personally written, speaking to the unique journey that brought them together and the challenges they've already weathered as a family. Marcus promises to always see Alexandra for who she truly is, to value her strength and independence while offering support when needed. Alexandra promises to nurture their unconventional family with patience and presence, to balance ambition with the deeper fulfillment of shared everyday moments. When the officiant pronounces them husband and wife, Marcus kneels beside Alexandra's wheelchair to share their first kiss as a married couple, a gesture that acknowledges her reality while eliminating any barrier between them. The small gathering erupts in applause, with Tommy jumping excitedly beside them. The reception at the Grand Hotel ballroom later that evening is more elaborate than Alexandra and Marcus would have chosen, but Nathan's careful planning has ensured it retains personal touches that make it genuinely theirs. Photos of their journey together line the entrance, from that first graduation day meeting through Tommy's hospital stay, house hunting, and building their home together. For their first dance, Marcus has arranged a surprise. He's taken lessons with a professional who specializes in wheelchair dancing, learning how to lead Alexandra in a graceful routine that showcases fluid movement and perfect synchronization. As they glide across the dance floor, her wheelchair an integral part of their choreography rather than an impediment, there isn't a dry eye in the room. When the music changes, Tommy joins them on the dance floor, and soon other guests follow. Alexandra finds herself surrounded by the community they've built, diverse in background and experience, but united in celebration of this family formed by choice and commitment rather than convention. Later in the evening, Alexandra takes a moment alone on the ballroom's terrace, watching the city lights below. Marcus finds her there, bringing a glass of champagne and a quiet presence beside her. "Happy?" he asks simply. "Completely," she confirms, "though I'm looking forward to the honeymoon too." They've planned a week at an accessible beach resort, with Tommy joining them for the family vacation they're calling their family moon. Nathan has insisted on gifting them this trip, along with arranging for Tommy's treatments to be administered at a nearby medical facility during their stay. "You know," Marcus says thoughtfully, "when Clara died, I thought that was it for me, that I'd spend the rest of my life alone, focused solely on raising Tommy." Alexandra takes his hand, listening. "I never imagined finding someone who would not only accept us as a package deal, but who would enhance our lives so completely," Marcus continues. "Someone who would see Tommy's needs as their own, who would fight for him as fiercely as I do." "He made it easy to love him," Alexandra says softly. "You both did." Inside the ballroom, they can see Tommy dancing with one of his skeletal friends, his energy seemingly inexhaustible despite the long day. His health has stabilized with the regular treatments and careful management, allowing him to enjoy a mostly normal childhood with some reasonable accommodations. "I think about that day sometimes," Marcus says, following her gaze to Tommy. "How close I came to not approaching you at graduation. If Tommy hadn't insisted—" "But he did," Alexandra points out, "and you listened to him. That's who you are, someone who notices people in pain, who takes action instead of looking away." "Like someone else I know," Marcus says, squeezing her hand. Tommy spots them on the terrace and waves enthusiastically, beckoning them back inside for the cake cutting. As they return to the celebration, Alexandra reflects on the journey that brought them here. From a chance meeting born of compassion to a family united by choice, commitment, and love, that transcends conventional boundaries. The cake cutting becomes another memory to treasure, with Tommy insisting on helping and consequently getting frosting on his suit. Nathan captures the moment on camera, his formal demeanor softened by genuine joy in this family he's come to embrace as his own. As the evening winds down, Alexandra finds herself in conversation with her Colorado supervisor, who has flown in for the wedding. "I've been meaning to tell you," Jeffrey Barnes says, "your remote work model has been so successful that we're implementing it more broadly across the company. You've changed our entire approach to flexible work arrangements." Alexandra smiles, gratified by this professional validation, but even more pleased by what it represents for other employees who need accommodation. Sometimes the best innovations come from necessity. Indeed, Barnes agrees. And speaking of innovation, I heard about the Sinclair Foundation initiative you'll be advising. Impressive scope. "It's still taking shape," Alexandra acknowledges, "but I'm excited about the potential impact." Their conversation is interrupted by Tommy, who arrives with urgent news about the chocolate fountain. As Alexandra excuses herself to address this apparent dessert emergency, she catches sight of Marcus across the room, deep in conversation with one of his engineering professors. Their eyes meet briefly, a silent communication of shared amusement and affection flowing between them. This is what she fought for, Alexandra realizes, not just professional success or personal happiness in isolation, but a life where both can coexist and enhance each other. A life where her wheelchair doesn't define her, but is simply one aspect of who she is. A life rich with purpose, challenge, and above all, love. The wedding celebration continues around her, a beautiful beginning to a journey already well underway. Tomorrow they'll return to their home, to homework and medication schedules, to work calls and house chores, to the beautiful ordinary days that make up a family's life together. 6 months later, Alexandra sits in the garden of their home, watching as Marcus and Nathan put the finishing touches on Tommy's treehouse. True to his word, Nathan has ensured it's fully accessible with a custom platform lift that allows Alexandra to join Tommy in his elevated retreat. "Try it now," Tommy calls down excitedly. "I think it's working." Alexandra wheels onto the lift platform, and Marcus activates the mechanism. Smoothly and safely, she rises to the treehouse level, where Tommy waits with barely contained excitement. "Welcome to Fort Sinclair Hughes," he announces grandly as she wheels into the cleverly designed space. "Do you like it?" "It's amazing," Alexandra says sincerely, taking in the thoughtful details. Wide doorways, smooth flooring, windows positioned for optimal viewing from seated height. "You three have created something really special." From below, Nathan calls up, "Is the ramp slope comfortable? We can adjust it if needed." "It's perfect, Dad," Alexandra calls back. "You've thought of everything." Marcus climbs up to join them, slightly breathless but beaming with pride in their creation. The three of them sit together in the treehouse, enjoying the view of their garden and the neighborhood beyond. "I have something to tell you both," Alexandra says after a moment of comfortable silence. "I've decided to accept the full-time position with the Sinclair Foundation." Marcus looks at her questioningly. "What about Colorado?" "I'm stepping back to an advisory role there," Alexandra explains. "The deputy director is ready to take over, and the foundation work allows me to make a bigger impact while staying closer to home." Tommy processes this news. "So you won't go to Colorado anymore?" "Much less often," Alexandra clarifies. "Maybe once every few months instead of every month." "That's great," Tommy exclaims. "We can use the treehouse more." Marcus laughs at his son's straightforward priorities, then turns to Alexandra with a more searching look. "Are you sure this is what you want? The Colorado position was your dream job." "It was," Alexandra agrees, "but dreams evolve. What I want now is meaningful work that doesn't require sacrificing time with you and Tommy. The foundation gives me that balance." Marcus leans over to kiss her softly. "Then I'm happy for you. We both are." "I have news too," Tommy announces, unwilling to be left out of the important conversation. "Dr. Patel says my immune system is getting stronger with the treatments. I might be able to go to space camp next summer if I keep doing well." "Space camp," Marcus repeats, raising an eyebrow. "First I'm hearing of this." "Grandpa Nathan told me about it," Tommy explains casually. "He said he'd talk to you about it." Alexander and Marcus exchange knowing looks. Nathan's enthusiasm for his grandfather role sometimes leads to planning ahead of parental consultation. We'll definitely discuss it, Marcus promises, but let's focus on keeping you healthy through this winter first. As the afternoon sun filters through the treehouse windows, casting golden light across their faces, Alexandra feels a profound sense of contentment. Their journey has not been without challenges. Tommy's health still requires vigilant management. Marcus balances work and education with parenting, and Alexandra navigates her evolving career path. But they face each challenge together, stronger as a unit than they ever were separately. In the yard below, Nathan calls up that dinner is almost ready. Another surprise, as he's taken cooking classes and now insists on preparing Sunday meals for them. This man who once defined himself solely through corporate success now finds equal pride in mastering family recipes and building tree houses. "We should go down," Marcus says, though none of them move immediately, reluctant to leave their peaceful perch. "Just a few more minutes," Alexandra suggests, watching a pair of birds build a nest in a nearby branch, a small, ordinary miracle of nature that she would once have been too busy to notice. Tommy leans against her wheelchair, his head resting against her arm. Marcus sits close on her other side, his hand entwined with hers. In this simple moment of connection, Alexandra recognizes the truth that has emerged through their unexpected journey together, that sometimes the most extraordinary love stories begin with the simplest acts of kindness, and that family, true family, is built not through obligation or circumstance, but through daily choices to see, value, and cherish one another exactly as they are.